It all began as an ordinary day in September, an ordinary day in Raccoon City, a city controlled by Umbrella.
Cormac McCarthy's novel, The Road, tells the tale of a father and a young boy roaming a post-apocalyptic world in pursuit of survival. It's a tale about hardship and how love perseveres above all, no matter how dire one situation may seem. Without spoiling it, parts of the book involve people, in particular the child, who has never seen the world pre-apocalypse, pondering the point of such hardship and if it's even worth surviving. While very few of us are a child struggling to find purpose in a world where everyone has died, many of us do deal with the inner conflict of what the hell we're doing here, why we should put up with all of life's bullshit and give that bullshit the middle finger in pursuit of purpose and reason, to try for something more than just because. Jill Valentine's solitary plight in Resident Evil 3 evokes similar themes, much more so than Resident Evils 1 and 2, where there was some semblance of a team involved each time. Resident Evil 3 begins with Jill utterly alone, Raccoon City collapsing around her. Jill's duty as a STARS member, her oath to protect the citizens of Raccoon, provides her with purpose, as the father's need to protect his child provides his. Both are more than enough for the player or the reader to get on board, to emphasize with the character's goal to keep on keeping on. At least, that's what was going through my mind during my first ever playthrough of Resident Evil 3. That's right, if you're new here, welcome to my series where I play pretty much every Resident Evil game for the very first time and provide my thoughts on it. This video follows ones on Resident Evil Remake and Resident Evil 2 Classic, so be sure to watch those if you haven't already. Otherwise, let's get into the game. The outbreak is no longer a surprise, not to the player nor the characters, and the game makes that very clear. We're not a young cop starting our first day with some mayhem. We are not a STARS member walking into a trap laid out for us. The shock value is gone. Jill understands what we're up against, and so do you. And Resident Evil 3 is ready to unleash hell upon us. This opening cutscene says it all. Hordes are out in numbers. Citizens are under attack. The R.P.D. and Umbrella's soldiers, they're all dead. The apocalypse is too late to stop. All we can do is escape. Jill enters the scene in style, flipping out of an explosion like nothing I've ever seen before. Even her outfit represents the shift in tone. She's no longer wrapped up in STARS gear, but wearing the bare minimum. Does this make her leaner and more agile? You could say so, but was this tactical tube top handcrafted to appeal to teens and middle-aged men? Without question. Hey, maybe it represents her desperation. The situation has fallen apart and Jill has nothing, including no outfit. Marketing reasons aside though, I like Jill's fit. It shows that she's a normal human being outside of her STARS role, and it's nice to see a less uptight protagonist this time around. If you can spare to look at something aside from Jill's polygonal glamour, you'll find yourself surrounded by far more zombies than Leon or Claire in RE2's outing, and more will keep coming if you don't get a move on. But first, what did Jill bring with her? She conveniently carries 2 instruction manuals, which teach about new mechanics like dodging and ammo combining via the reloading tool, which we'll get into later, as well as something called live selection, where I'll be prompted between 2 story options at random points in the game. I'm going to cheat ahead in the script a bit and tell you that this fundamental change solves my entire problem with Resident Evil 2, and I can't wait to get into that a bit more. I'm certainly out of practice though, as I get bit a few times before making it out of the first area. I'm playing on hard mode as well, as from my research, easy mode is a bit too easy, most players say, and I need some challenge from a game to stay engaged. Unfortunately for Jill, the other side of this dumpster we arrived behind is even worse, and we find ourselves surrounded on both sides before she busts down a door, just barely escaping. The first door animation of the game stands out in that she sprints at it, meaning it's faster than the average door animation, which is pretty cool. Jill then catches us up to everything in a journalistic format, stating that it's September 28th, meaning Resident Evil 3 takes place 2 months after her mansion events in the first game and starts a day before Leon and Claire enter the R.P.D. in Resident Evil 2.
Somehow, I'm still alive.
Inside that doorway is a warehouse, and inside the warehouse is a big boy who's breaking down about losing his daughter. But Jill keeps her cool and tries to convince him to leave. The man refuses in a scene that reminds me more than a bit of something out of Dead Rising.
We have to get out of here!
No! I'm not going anywhere! I'd rather starve to death in here than be eaten by one of those undead monsters! Now leave me alone!
This gate is for your protection.
I am not opening any gate. Thank you very much. I'm going to stay right here.
Dr.
when it's
Barnaby,
safe.
sir.
Upstairs is my first safe room, complete with an updated save room theme, no less. Forgive me as I'm not super fluent in talking about music, but it sounds like there's more to the piano melody this time around. More importantly though, we come across Gunpowder A, so now's as good a time as any to discuss ammo creation. See, there are 3 ammo powder types, A, B, and C. Combining these with Jill's reloading tool turns them into ammo. Ammo type A by itself turns into pistol rounds, while type B is shotgun rounds. However, combining type A and B gives us type C, which provides us with grenade launcher rounds. But that's just a surface level look. Combining C, C, and C before putting it into the reloading tool gives us magnum ammo. And there are different types of grenade launcher rounds. It's pretty neat. Also, continually crafting a certain ammo type gives you an experience point in that type, which will eventually lead to more powerful ammo. All this to say, I focused on the handgun ammo to start, as I assumed it will be the most common type and I want that stronger stuff. We make our first save as well. Let me tell you right now, I'm gonna save like crazy in this first playthrough. When we cover my second playthrough in the latter half of this video, I'll test myself a little more and save less, but we're already starting this one on hard mode, so I'm gonna cut myself some slack when it comes to rank. Downstairs we find some more handgun ammo and a first aid spray, and we head out, grabbing the door key in the save room to escape the warehouse. Roaming through these alleys, I find myself missing the ominous tracks that play while exploring the R.P.D. in Resident Evil 2. Here, there's no music, just the sound of wind and zombies, with the occasional survivor or two getting chased down. It's pretty ominous. As for combat, we've got zombies appearing where I can't see while I'm distracted by zombies I can see. Thanks Capcom for taking advantage of me with this camera angle again. I test out the game's new aiming feature, where pressing R2 has Jill aim at an explosive barrel or other environmental item. Very cool. It's a nice way to not waste some ammo and actually target these explosives, saving you a ton of ammo in the long run. I probably should have saved this barrel for more than one zombie though. Also, these streets are packed. Traffic barriers, crashed cars, litter, and having us weave through the general destruction sell the fact that we're mid-apocalypse. The mess also does a great job of forcing me to engage with zombies because it's blocking so much of the roads and alleyways. After roaming the streets for a bit, it's someone else's turn to bust through a door, as Jill is almost taken out by some guy barely escaping from a zombie horde. A horde that I now have to fight through. These areas are narrow, far narrower than the R.P.D. hallways, making it harder for me to justify squeezing through enemies. But the risk of losing health is far too high, meaning I'm spending bullets, not green herbs, if I can help it. Through the doorway is a shotgun and some lighter oil. Unsure why someone would leave those, but hey, I'll take them. A street later is a man getting absolutely munched, but I'm too panicked to take advantage of the distraction, instead hiding on top of these pallets and recovering the map. I find 2 green herbs as well, but as I learned from Resident Evil 2, there's probably some backtracking soon, so I'm gonna leave these for my future self. Past the munched on man is the door charging man firing at some zombies, sprinting away as I approach. Feeling a bit miffed by his response, I pull out the shotgun for my playthrough's first 2-for-1 and follow him into a nearby bar. Inside, we watch him get attacked, and I let him take the zombie down himself instead of wasting my ammo. Taste your own medicine, Oh shit, it's Brad.
Brad, hang in there. Why isn't someone doing something about this?
Well, why the hell did you run from us then, bro? Then again, this isn't the first time he's fled under pressure.
Hey, Brad! Where the hell's he going?
Brad gives a bit of an existential speech about something coming after STARS members, calling out the police for being useless. Fitting, as we saw during Resident Evil 2. But his claims that
we're both gonna die,
and that
there's no escape
from what's coming after us are dire. He runs away again. What's with Resident Evil characters running away from each other? Anyways, we find a lighter near the pinball machines alongside a Clocktower postcard, a landmark spot, or so I've been told. I head back through the branching path we came through, found thanks to this super helpful map of Uptown, only to be surprised by a combination of walkers and crawlers. Thankfully, there's a convenient red barrel nearby, and I switch to my pistol over the shotgun to blow it up, because I'm really smart, and I don't waste ammo in these games. Never ever. We're blocked by the game's first combination puzzle, an oiled-up rope. Fortunately, I've got just the lighter for the job. I almost wish I didn't though, as flaming dogs begin to swarm, but this does present us with a great opportunity to detail Jill's dodge mechanic. On PlayStation 1, you hold R1 to aim and press X the moment you're being attacked to dodge. You can also press R1 or R2 to dodge when outside of aiming mode, though the timing is a bit difficult to get down, and on hard mode, the window is apparently even smaller. But mastering dodge is key to getting through these cramped alleys and hordes of enemies. This mechanic is a great addition, and when paired with the 180-degree quick turn, you're far less hindered by the player character's stiff, lumbering movements that classic Resident Evil is known for. But the dodge also doesn't interfere with the stiff design philosophy either. You're still tactically placing your character, finding pockets of time to fire away while avoiding damage. The dodge is just an out if you placed yourself too close. A skill-based out. I don't master the dodge mechanic by any means in this playthrough, but you'll see me pull it off from time to time, especially during boss fights. Instead, I tend to brute force things in games. We come across fire that forces us through the alley into our next safe room, which contains our first gunpowder B. My dumbass combined gunpowder A and B to make grenade launcher ammo long before I acquire the weapon. But we carry on, hoping that mistake doesn't bite me in the ass. This next area highlights how far Capcom has evolved with Resident Evil 3 in terms of environmental detail. This city went through it, and we're seeing that through more than just destroyed cars. Streets are littered with trash, police barriers are shoved around, and water is gushing out from a broken hydrant. And you know what that hydrant is in front of? The Raccoon Police Department, the R.P.D. So you're telling me Resident Evil 9 ain't even original? I first thought this was just set decoration, but I can actually walk inside. I know the game takes place the night before Leon and Claire come through, so I wonder if we'll run into them over the course of this game. Who knows how long Jill's journey lasts? But I'm filled with both anticipation and a slight bit of dread, as we all know I didn't particularly love Resident Evil 2. Before heading inside though, Brad follows behind and gets his body smashed in by a big ol' beast that yells stars. I know you think you're scary, buddy, but I've experienced Mr. X quite a bit. I'm prepared. The game then gives what the manual calls my first live selection. I planned on pondering the decision for a bit, but what's wild is the scene continues while you make a decision, putting pressure on the player, and it's genuinely really scary. I chose to fight like the brave guy I am, and I made a mistake. I got my face smashed. This dude is far more scary than Mr. X. He's fast, and he can even stunlock Jill by picking her up and throwing her to the ground, picking her up again if you don't mash the buttons fast enough to stand up. Spoiler, I'm going to be seeing this screen a lot in my first playthrough. Clearly lacking the skill to take this guy down, I choose to enter the police station this time. My own personal boss fight, if you know my thoughts on Resident Evil 2, which Jill accepts with a bit of flair. It's here that the game instantly feels different from Resident Evil 2. Instead of playing a whole inferior scenario just to see an alternate version of this moment, I'm making the choice to see an alternate version on the spot, under pressure, with Brad's corpse still warm outside. Every playthrough, I'll be experiencing the same core story, but my route through it is already diverging. More on that later. Now, there are two key differences in this lobby from Resident Evil 2's lobby. For one, the initial door on the left is boarded up here, whereas it was open in the previous game, and there's no slot for the statue puzzle. But no more time for analyzing that. I'm worried that the monster is going to appear randomly just like Mr. X does, and I need to move. Jill and I head into Leon's party room and find Mr. Marvin Bro as expected, only this time he's unconscious. Fatally wounded, the game clarifies. We uncover his report, which details a theft in the municipal building, noting that a jewel-decorated clock is missing 2 of 12 gems. Mans can't finish the case due to a lack of officers, I assume, but I bet we're gonna do it for him. According to the note, 2 days later, Bro actually finds a gem during an autopsy of a 42-year-old restaurant owner who was shot to death within 10 minutes of developing zombie symptoms. The gem isn't on him, however, so I take the nearby shotgun shells and bail. Of course, I find it in the nearby evidence room because Mr. Marvin is a good cop, but I can't carry the thing due to my hoarding problems. A few zombies later, we head to the save area under the stairs with the darkroom inside, a Resident Evil 2 favorite. We find nothing suspicious, but we do come across David's memo, a tale of a man who truly can't believe how many men the Force has lost in the zombie attack. One man, Meyer, saved David from the initial attack, but David couldn't return the favor and Meyer was turned into baloney. His words. David recalls Meyer's last screams, the sound of flesh being stripped from his bones. Later on, David notes that he's lost 13 men already, and that no one surviving can decide what to do. He'll finish his bottle of whiskey and bring himself peace. He can hardly wait. If there's one thing these notes do, it's leave little to the imagination. I organize my inventory and grab the gem, fighting through familiar hallways with that all-too-familiar jingle playing in the background. The classroom with the fireplace provides us with a STARS card, but lighting the fireplace does nothing this time around. What a shame. A hallway that leads to another section of the station in Resident Evil 2 is closed off here, so we return to the lobby and activate the computer with our newfound identification. The station places us back into puzzle-solving mode, no doubt. The computer holds a code to unlock a safe in the evidence room, 0131, which provides us with an emblem key. This key makes me realize that there are no shaped keys, no diamond or club keys, nothing like that. I wonder if this is due to the game taking place in a city rather than an enclosed area, and finding keys for locked areas spread all around a city would have frustrated navigation. Then again, I guess we're navigating a city, and lore-wise, Umbrella probably would have had a hard time getting away with using specially designed puzzle keys built to keep people out of alleyways. Next, we head upstairs and fight zombies for the first time in this area of the station. I don't think there were ever zombies in this spot in Resident Evil 2, which is pretty neat. I'm trying to play smart here and bring out the shotgun to hit multiple enemies at once, preserving ammo since there's no way to dodge through these guys. Past the zombies is that familiar door that never opens, but no statues to push around this time. Am I sad? Not really. I've already done that 5 times before. The emblem key, naturally, lets us into the STARS office, which looks exactly the same as before, only this time there's a lockpick inside, and the game gives me an extra long black screen, which actually really freaked me out. I thought my PS1 had died on me or something, and I hadn't saved in a while, but I guess it just needed some extra loading time. That's right, guys, the older consoles used to have loading times. Of course, I also check out the weapon locker where Leon and Claire get the grenade launcher and crossbow respectively. Inside it this time is a Magnum, which I once again have no room for. There's also a fax from Mr. Kendo, the creep who hits on Claire in Resident Evil 2. Apparently he provides stars with all of their weapons, which seems a bit shady. You'd think that a police department would have weapons supplied by the government, but I guess Umbrella has some sort of deal with this guy. At least he brings some good news here, revealing a new handgun, the Samurai Edge. If you miss shots with this, he says, you should carry a teething ring instead of a gun. I've played enough of these games by now to know that I'll probably be able to get this gun at some point, so I'll definitely try to. Before leaving, an alarm goes off. Something always has to happen in this room after using the fax machine, huh? It's a staticky broadcast from a colonel who is cut off from his entire platoon.
No. Come anyone. Our platoon is cut off. No survivors found. This is Carlos. Send in support immediately.
Sadly, there's nothing we can do. The next door, the one that Sherry climbs through via the vent, is blocked off as well. So I head off to clear inventory space to grab the Magnum. The hair on the back of my neck stands up as I hear a crash in the distance, but I carry on down the stairs to avoid it. Big mistake. The beast crashes through the downstairs window, and I waste no time booking it to the safe room. I really don't want to go back out there and grab the Magnum, but I have a video to make, damn it. I channel my Mr. X skills and dodge past the guy who's holding a rocket launcher of all things. Heading upstairs barely helps though, as this guy apparently chases me through rooms. This isn't just Mr. X, this is an upgrade. Most of the time our boy X would appear in a room and you could just leave, come back, and he was gone. Resident Evil 3's beast, let's just call him Nemesis by now, his name is on the damn box, stays persistent even if you leave and come back. That's a great fucking way to make the player feel powerless, and I'm constantly on edge while exploring throughout the entire game. It's interesting because Mr. X's hypothetical appearance did leave you on edge in Resident Evil 2, but you also knew he wasn't going to show up that often. He was like a horror movie villain, where the idea of him being there is almost scarier than him actually appearing. Learning through gameplay that Nemesis can appear at what feels like any time keeps me constantly on edge in a different way than Mr. X did. Knowing there's no easy escape from Nemesis is its own form of terror. It also factors into how I play the game and do my inventory management, as now I'm going to keep as many potential puzzle items on me as possible to minimize safe room visits, as any attempt to hit a safe room may be my last. Anyways, I grab the Magnum and Jesus Christ, he's right outside. Book it, Jill. We take a breather in the safe room. I wonder if it's even safe in the first place. And we save and continue. My handgun is out of ammo too, so it's shotgun and Magnum time. I put on my bravest face, convince myself that I'll be okay if Nemesis is outside this door, and head out. Surprise, he's here. The monster chases me through multiple rooms, cornering me near Marvin as I hold my ground, firing Magnum after Magnum while practicing the dodge mechanic. Pulling it off once or twice too before the monster unloads a rocket at me while face to face. The audacity. With 3 shotgun shells left, I go for broke and bring him down with the final one. You kinda can't make this shit up. That felt epic. At least, I thought I brought him down. I attempt to loot him like Mr. X, but Nemesis is unfazed, getting right back up, and I decide, screw this. We bust out of that cursed police station and head back to Uptown. So much time has passed that the previously leaking hydrant is now dry, but at least I have a lockpick now. And with that, there's one locked door in the original streets that I'll try to open. At least according to the map there is. We make our way back through the area that was on fire and the fallen police barrier, only for zombies to crash through the windows like it's a hallway in Resident Evil 2. This set of pallets gives me a bit of a breather, but it also gives the zombies time to surround me and I'm under attack. You win some, you lose some. But after some excellent dodging and weaving, if I do say so myself, the locked door I was backtracking towards, the boutique, doesn't unlock with the lockpick, so now I'm getting attacked by dogs for nothing. The dogs cornered Jill on another stack of pallets, and I waste the rest of my ammo trying to take at least one of them down, but it doesn't even work. After kiting them to the opposite side, then jumping down to make a run for it, I actually escape unharmed, which felt pretty badass. Zombies are still everywhere though, causing me to use a first aid spray that I was also trying to save. Hard mode is no joke, y'all. I'm officially out of ammo and heals as I make my way back to the R.P.D. street, but at least I'm at full health. Silver linings and all that. What an escape. Now, that's some prime survival horror, folks. Running on empty, kiting enemies to avoid getting attacked, getting good at the dodge. This is a struggle, man. That's what's crazy about this genre. A few shots I fired a few rooms ago had dire consequences later on. If I hadn't fought Nemesis in the R.P.D. and instead held that ammo, this whole street sequence would have never happened. I would have destroyed the dogs and moved on, but every action here matters. We open the simple lock with the lockpick to progress, making note of the red barrel here for future use. Thank Leon for some green and blue herbs before moving forward though. I leave one there for when I have to backtrack. The next door leads to some chaos as yelling and gunshots erupt from the distance. We've got to make a move on to avoid these dogs and make our way past a bus crashed on top of a car. What a way to die if you were trapped inside. I take a risk and search this body for items in a little side area, somehow avoiding the dogs as I grab some gunpowder B. I'm assuming this is the guy we just heard screaming. We enter a nearby parking garage and the game refuses to relent. Immediately, Jill hears footsteps approaching, and a camera shift reveals it to be more zombified dogs. We take a hit on our way to the next safe room, and do finally find some ammo though. It's time to load up. Y'all, I deserve to be in the Swerving World Championships with this performance. We're just getting dogs on dogs, and while I feel like throwing that enemy type over and over at us can get a bit mundane, it did help me realize that there's hardly an area in this game without any enemies. Resident Evil 2 had tons of empty rooms, while 3 rarely does. That's the balance between the more action-focused movesets such as dodging, but it's also more lore accurate, as we're in the city now. A city is gonna be full of people turned into zombies. There's bound to be danger all over the place. It's like exploring the city with my dog. There are people everywhere, so seeing all these zombified versions of all those people actually makes a bit of sense. And I'm also about to eat my words. The next area is under construction and under threat from wall-climbing, poison-spitting, four-legged creatures this time. It's as if the previous dogs were training me for such a villain, since they're both four-legged crawling freaks, but I didn't practice what I was taught. Previously, I swerved. Here, I fought, and I paid the price, collapsing as the creature jumped on his hind legs to lick Jill's face, a lick more fatal than any she's had before. In my retry, I practice dodging some more and land a few sick shotgun shots to win the day, taking some time to explore the area to find some gunpowder A. We then enter downtown. We hear some fighting, and another man running from a zombie. As we chase him, we come across a book-shaped engraving that asks me to place my wisdom, and a compass that says the future is in our hands. Dramatic. Nearby is a plaque dedicated to Raccoon City's mayor, Michael Warren, which reads, "We must channel our knowledge to the future, for it shall always show us our greatest destiny." Isn't this dude half the reason for Umbrella's power over the city? I seem to remember that from a note in Resident Evil 2. But sure bro, keep throwing the empty philosophy our way. A block away is the restaurant, a place looking about as classy as our mayor is honest. That's cluttered with ammo, alongside a city guide that has Mayor Warren crediting Umbrella for funding Raccoon's many welfare and infrastructure projects, as if the company is some sort of benevolent guardian instead of the reason everyone's a walking corpse. And yet, despite Umbrella's contributions, Warren's the one who got a plaque. Ego much? We need to get out of here before I throw up. Also, I can't pick anything up in here. I once again need to clear some inventory space, so I head out the back way and get bit to utilize a green herb and fend off a horde of zombies thanks to the shotgun and a nice downward angle. Back inside, we use the lockpick to acquire a fire hook and attempt to take that bronze compass from before, but it activates a trap. I guess I'll have to deal with this later. A nearby safe room in an alley provides us with a rusted crank, and I can finally organize all that ammo and ammo powder that I found, making more pistol ammo to try and level it up. Now we can use the fire hook to open a trapdoor inside of the restaurant, but we hear a sound from behind. Jill calls out, but thankfully it's just a guy named Carlos. About 5 seconds later, I regret that relief, as he introduces himself as
Corporal of Umbrella's Biohazard Countermeasure Force.
Did you just say you belong to Umbrella's army?
Did you just say you belong to Umbrella's army?
See, Jill and I, we're on the same page. I can always trust her. Carlos claims that he's here to help us civilians, but that the mission went bad. While I don't fully believe him just yet, we learn that the man is a hired merc and not an official employee of Umbrella, which is a point in his favor. And then, of course, Nemesis has to get involved.
Wait, how did he find me?
I'm given the option to run in the basement or hide inside the kitchen. I decide to hide in the kitchen as heading down into the basement feels like it may be a trap. Jill, as resourceful as ever, takes the opportunity to toss a homemade bomb in with the beast, much to Carlos' dismay. I'm a fan, though.
Are you crazy? You could have barbecued both of us.
And he's downed. Searching Nemesis results in the Eagle Parts A item, though an A implies I'd need other parts to utilize these. Perhaps an Eagle Parts B. I check out the hatch anyways, and down there is a small sewer with a man's chest ripped out and a locked freezer. I'm curious what's inside. But exploring down here was a bad idea, as Nemesis is standing up once we climb back up top. I appreciate Carlos aggroing the guy until he runs directly in front of me and we both get punched. But I guess this is karma for all the 2-for-1s I've pulled off. Now it's Nemesis' turn. We get Nemesis down for just a second, and weakened in body but not in the spirit, we escape. Jill takes another second to interrogate Carlos, questioning his involvement with the evil corporation. The man convincingly stands his ground though, claiming that we should join him instead. It's not about Umbrella anymore, it's about survival. But that's a conversation for another time, as Nemesis bangs on the door to escape. And this is where Resident Evil 3's tech gets wild. While Nemesis wasn't here when I walked out of the door, his music starts playing after a couple seconds, and I hear his footsteps as the camera switches, seeming to imply he can spawn in a room after I've entered it, rather than him being there right as I walk in. See, in Resident Evil 2, I could enter a room and hear Mr. X's music before seeing him. It was a clear giveaway every time. If there was no music, I knew he wouldn't be in the room, outside of a few scripted story moments. But this Nemesis revelation seems to imply he can appear in any room at any time, even if I'm already exploring it. Once again, this game excels at putting me on simply the sharpest edge it can. I duck into a safe room to recoup. Further down the alley, we make our way to the newspaper office, as the map indicates we should go there. And somehow Nemesis is in front of us in the next area. I can't even focus on what's going on around me as he sprints after my ass, putting me into the danger status and making me waste the blue and green herb combination. You bet your ass I was freaking the hell out. Fortunately, inside the room is a first aid spray and a simple stepladder puzzle. Seriously, I just had to push it sideways. Nearby is Photo B, a close-up of a zombie with Scoop on the backside. I wonder if this Scoop made it to the papers in time, or maybe Umbrella holds power over the press and blocked it. Hard to say. Jill lifts a shutter only for fire to follow, but we don't take any real damage. We head up the steps, feeling a bit like Spider-Man before the Green Goblin ambushes him, and enter what appears to be the main newsroom. The only green thing we find is a green gem to go with the blue one, but we do get ambushed by the fastest zombie I think I've seen this far. I honestly would have preferred the Green Goblin. It gets me thrice, as I'm greedy and felt I could defeat it without moving. I've mentioned this in previous videos, I'm sure, but I tend to push my limits when it comes to offense in games, and here I assumed my bet would end the zombie's life. Instead, it ended mine. On my retry, I escaped Nemesis without a hit, though his swing was coming at me and almost landed, and then I'm way more careful with the zombie this time, though it seems slower than before. I don't know what's up with that. The newsroom contains photo C, a shot of police knocked dead amongst the cars. Unfortunately, there's no author, but I wonder if it's Ben from Resident Evil 2, as I can't imagine anyone else taking photos of the goings-on here and staying, especially after the police were destroyed, unless you were in a space that seemed as safe as the police station itself. Emphasis on seemed. Elsewhere in the newsroom, we find a reporter's memo, who details that they have the evidence needed to prove a cannibal disease is indeed happening in the city. One man eating people to death, and that others seem to be craving humans as well. Unfortunately, the reporter has no leads on the origins of such a disease, but notes that Raccoon is under martial law due to its spread. I appreciate that the journalist stays dedicated to the cause, opting to stay here and cover the situation. They know that the disease isn't spread through air, but by some other mysterious means. Also, with how quiet and eerie it is up here, I get the feeling that Nemesis is going to come through at any time. A collectible and some exposition feels too rewarding to not have a downside after all. My instinct is correct, as Nemesis decks Jill the second I head into the hallway to leave. This is a crazy use of the fixed camera to generate a scare, cutting to Nemesis charging us, his frame covering the scene with the player completely disconnected from Jill. A terrifying sight, being removed from our girl and knowing a hefty beast is coming to take her down, causing a big reaction out of me for sure, and probably every other person who's ever played this game. Thing is, I'm unsure that I explored everywhere up top. I need to check the map that's only available up there though, because I didn't realize you could switch between maps on the fly. So I have Jill's damaged self head back through the door and rush to check the map, realize there is an extra path, but that it's inaccessible from here, quick turn, and escape before Nemesis lands another hit. I know I said earlier that I'm not very good at these games, but after this scenario, consider me a pro. Outside the newsroom is an hour clock with a few gems missing. Fortunately for me, I have a few shaped just like them. This opens the gates to City Hall, with branching pathways bringing a whole new set of anxieties for me to take on. I take the right path first, heading towards the gas station, and am treated to an overhead view of the crashed cars and general destruction. Can't argue with those prices though. We find a hex-shaped hole that neatly fits our hex-shaped crank, odd way to protect your gas station, but okay, and it breaks as we're halfway through opening it. Now we need some way to keep twisting it, leading Jill and I down the left pathway. I hate all these narrow hallways though, they're just ripe for a Nemesis attack. The left path is loaded with zombies, but fortunately I caught them by surprise so I can easily slip past, hoard some green herbs, and make my way to a trolley, blowing up some dogs along the way for good measure. Inside the trolley is a mechanic's memo, where an experienced mechanic is teaching a newer one, Kevin, the ropes. Basically, he states that the carriage is simple, stubborn, and strong, meaning Kevin can trust it no problem. Even if there is a malfunction, it should be an easy fix. Have faith in the machinery, Kevin, and never forget that a man may betray others, but a machine won't. Oddly thought-provoking. We don't have much time to ponder, however, as a big Russian man belittles Jill for somehow surviving. Little does he know that she's a damn STARS member.
STARS? You mean the R.P.D. Special Force Team?
Jill believes he's affiliated with Carlos, but the music playing in the background here has me believing he's more nefarious than anything else. He also blatantly ignored a nearby wounded man with clear PTSD, furthering my suspicions. In the next room, Carlos reiterates his invitation to join the group, but big Russian guy, their sergeant, claims he can't trust me, as if I'm the one with the ominous background music playing while I talk.
Why?
That said, he could be the guy that's gruff with a big heart and sacrifices himself to save us later on. We'll see. Carlos convinces him to let me join though, and I learn that the Clocktower from that postcard is an evacuation zone. A chopper will fly in and pick us up, but we can't get there on foot due to the fire. Instead, we need to activate this trolley. With a plan in place, Carlos kindly provides me with 2 extra inventory slots. I appreciate that this is a story-based upgrade now, rather than an optional one like it was in Resident Evil 2. Inside is also a wrench, which I assume can help me twist the broken hex crank. Examining the trolley again, it appears we'll need a power cable, a fuse, and some mixed oil to get it working. Back on the topic of fires though, I'm reminded that the dogs are immune to the burning element as one jumps out at me while I escape, even interrupting my climb over the pallets to do a bit of damage. This definitely threw me off, as I also got bit by a zombie that I had no problem dodging on the way here. Lovely. As if to double down on my mistake, the game throws a previously locked door open as a horde storms out, with one zombie far faster than the others. I consider fighting, decide against it, and open the gas station with the wrench. Also, this might be the longest I've gone in this game without seeing Nemesis, and I kinda despise that. It means he could appear at any time. Carlos joins me inside, but the zombies are smart and begin to swarm. Lucky for me though, he wants to play hero with his automatic rifle while I grab a first aid spray. I don't leave him as zombie meat though like I did with Brad, and head outside to see that he may have died?
No!
Relax.
Never mind, he's fine. And he leaves to go grab some equipment. I believe this scene is to really hit home that Carlos is a good guy to the player, but I don't know. Part of me feels like he's trying too hard, like, what was the point of him coming to the gas station if he was just going to leave and find equipment anyways? He didn't really seem to have a goal here. He just walked in to tell Jill that the zombies are coming and then left again, which is kinda odd. Back inside, I'm treated to a puzzle where I have to leave one red light on while turning off the others. Hitting one light activates the others on either side of it. A pretty typical puzzle in games nowadays, but not a bad one. Hell, I just did something like this in Dark Cloud 2. Solving it provides us with machine oil, 1/3 of what's needed for the trolley, but apparently I'm in Final Destination as some spark plugs interact with the oil in the nearby auto shop and explode, causing a massive station fire and eventual other explosion, knocking the whole thing down and almost ending Jill. Kinda epic. Comparably less threatening are the zombies left over from the horde swarm. I head past them and enter a courtyard to find a statue of our great mayor. I understand humans building statues of those that came before us, such as the many memorials currently in Washington, D.C., but commissioning a statue of oneself during their own term? It's representative of the narcissistic behavior of someone else I know. The honorable guy has a green button attached to him, which drops a bronze book in my hands. But the zombies are still a threat, and I suddenly remember that it has been a while since my last save. Panicking, I waste a first aid spray despite having caution yellow health, and rush to the nearest save room without much issue. Backtracking a bit more to find the rest of the items, I have some more context as to why I'm so scared of Nemesis in this game. It's not necessarily because he's big and fast, but because I have agency, and he punishes me for it. Take a game like Outlast. Outlast places you as an independent journalist who got a tip about some shady shit happening at this old asylum. It's owned by the Murkoff Corporation, and it's apparent very quickly that they're up to something. As a journalist, you're powerless. You can only run or hide. There are no weapons to learn, no abilities to master. It's the solve a puzzle, hide from the stalker horror formula that It and Amnesia helped establish, and one we're all pretty familiar with by now to some degree. A Mr. X or a Nemesis, but we lack the ability to fight back. Being powerless is a different kind of terror. Holding my breath in real life while peeking around a corner, knowing I need to sprint away if anything so much as looks at me. I'll tell ya, I'm screaming, I'm running, I'm scared.
Oh my god, I got caught on the railing, I hate this game, I hate this game, I hate this game, I hate this game. No, don't go back down, don't go back down.
Give me something big and fast in Resident Evil. I panic like one of Raccoon's helpless citizens, but as I progress through the game, eventually I will feel ready to fight. Give me something big and fast in Outlast. I panic like one of Raccoon's helpless citizens.
Oh my god!
I guess. Oh, geez.
Outlast evokes a primal feeling while taking away the power to fight it. That lack of responsibility, both in-game and in real life, is what makes us feel powerless. And people really seem to like that in a game. The genre that Outlast helps spawn is far more popular than fixed camera Resident Evil, due in part to a lesser learning curve. Anyone can jump into lethal company with their friends and get the basic picture. Gather your buddies, run away from monsters, and grab things. Sometimes there's puzzles, sometimes there's not, but there's never combat. Its accessible nature led to the genre exploding. Resident Evil is big, don't get me wrong. Most entries sell into the tens of millions, but keep in mind that they're multi-platform releases, and often experience multiple re-releases over the years, and this isn't to mention that the series is very often on sale. But it had to shift away from a fixed camera to achieve that level of success. Lethal Company, a brand new IP, sold 18.6 million units on Steam in 2 years. It's a new game on one platform, and it's not built on an existing IP. Point is, the genre that Outlast helped inspire is awesome, it's scary, but Nemesis is scary in a very different way. You can run from him if you want. Trust me, I do it a lot, though eventually you will have to fight him. Then the pressure is on you to perform. If I die in Outlast, I reload and try a different hiding spot. If I died in Nemesis, it's because I wasn't good enough. Every time Nemesis shows up, and honestly every battle in general, presents a myriad of questions. Do I risk using my best ammo? Do I try to pull off a dodge? Do I even have enough HP to consider moving forward without using a heal? If I die, it's rarely because Capcom is being unfair. It's because I got greedy, or I missed a dodge, or I used up my shotgun shells in an easier fight. These considerations essentially turn my own choices into the horror. Nemesis gives me more to second guess, and the limited save slots certainly don't help. I bring the bronze book to that puzzle area from before, outside of the restaurant, which allows me to remove the future compass. As for where it goes, I have no earthly idea. But Jill is poisoned from those four-legged monstrosities, so I need to focus on that first, because machine oil certainly isn't going to help that. Back at the parking lot, I make a separate save slot due to my poor status, as my inventory is a disaster and every room feels like I'm about to get soft-locked. I remember that blue herbs were right outside of here, but I'm stopped, of course, by dogs. Jill's poison is cured, but at the cost of her soul. I try again, attempt to defeat the dogs this time in a 2-on-1 with a pistol, and actually do a decent job switching between the two. Or at least, I thought I did. Try number 3, I stun the first dog, grab the herbs, and run. Not that it matters, as more dogs kill me in the next area anyways. I take a breather, bring my real-life dog on a walk to ponder my existence, and resume. This time going back to my older save that I'm so thankful I didn't overwrite. This time I load up with grenade launcher and shotgun rounds to prevent getting owned. I grab the future compass again and decide to explore a little bit, heading back to the mayor statue to see if there's anything I missed. A small cutscene plays as dogs jump out of a window to scare my ass, which leads me to believe I'm heading the right way. See here, the light on the statue is red, which seems to further indicate something. I place the compass in his hands to replace the book, and of all things, our less than suspect mayor provides me with a battery. I really should have put together that the compass goes where I found the bronze book, not just stumbled upon it, but I'll forgive myself, and I hope you can too. And, due to my recent poisoning, I remember that the battery operates the elevator in that hallway with the four-legged poison beasts. I somehow make my way over there without getting poisoned again, and enter a new area of downtown, near the substation. I push my way past a slew of zombies without wasting ammo or heals. Not that I have any heals to waste anyways, and head inside. totally loving the fact that I'm finding a bunch of red herbs and nothing to combine them with. It's just great. Inside the substation, we find a transformer set to auto mode and the option to turn it to manual mode, as long as we don't let it exceed maximum levels. This one took me a while, and I still don't fully understand it. I understand that red means the power goes up and blue means the power goes down. I just kind of put together that I should hit a target of 20 by alternating the pattern until it hit 20. Normally, I don't move past a puzzle until I fully understand it, but since I know I'll be playing this game again to experience the alternate pathways, I let it be this time. Getting the power to 20 opens a nearby garage door, but before entering it, I check out the other garage door, which reads, "This door will be released at volts 115 to 125. Oh, that makes so much more sense. So I'm targeting a specific voltage for each door. Got it. This first area holds a fuse, the last part that I need for the trolley, but I hear a moan from the other room, and not the moan that you want to hear. Nope, this moan means the zombies are back, and I'm given another choice. Head to the emergency exit or increase electricity output. The latter choice simply sounds cooler, but I hope it doesn't backfire. So far, the only one that's backfired for me was fighting Nemesis in front of the police station. My choice ended up being correct, and it absolutely fries these guys with no downside for me. In fact, the next room provides me with a grenade launcher, so I really won out. I need to keep this in mind on my next playthrough, and grab the grenade launcher when I make the emergency exit choice, as I know from Leon that it's great defense against the undead. I like that Resident Evil 3's choice system incentivizes my thinking like this. We head back out, fuse in hand, and run into a whole new horde of zombies. Perfect cannon fodder for Jill, but of course, one or two get the jump on me since I didn't see them crawling after I blew their damn legs off. With another trolley part in hand, I artfully navigate Jill toward the parking lot once again, only this time I'm not trudging along at low health. To prevent getting there again, I grenade launcher one of the dogs and finish off the other with my pistol, still taking a hit or two anyways, because I really need to get better at dodging. Though I do get a power cable as my reward, and can finally fix and power the trolley. On my way there, I'd like to say keep it up to Capcom for indicating which rooms are important on the map. Since Resident Evil 3 is more open than previous entries, some level of direction was necessary to keep us from roaming around endlessly, which I appreciate. In the previous games, the map didn't necessarily tell you where to go, you just had doors correlating to the color of the keys that you had, like the club key being a certain color or the heart key being a certain color, and you knew you had to unlock those doors and eventually figure out how to progress. This game just tells you on the map. Two different solutions to the same problem, and they both work. But before the trolley is one more blinking area, the sales office. We grab a fire hose on the way over, which, I assume, I'll use to put out the fire blocking the way to the sales office. Don't question my intelligence. I also get my revenge on those poison-spitting freaks thanks to my newfound grenade launcher, though I'm ill-prepared for these little guys that climb out of them. Also, I only have one save ribbon left, so I'm actually not going to save right now and see if I can get through this next area alive. Up the stakes a little, you know what I mean? Past this fire is a crank of all things, but inside the office we hear a man getting shot. We rush back there to find Nikolai. He claims the guy was turning into a zombie, but we heard him yelling, "Wait!" That's not something a zombie yells. Jill calls our new boss out on the matter, but there's really little we can do. Now, maybe Nikolai was right. Our commander does need to be ruthless right now, and if that man was bitten, then there was really no hope for him. And honestly, I'd like to think that if Nikolai really was a bad guy, he could just kill Jill right here too. There's no reason for him not to if he really is a bad guy, so I guess we'll trust him for the time being. There's a security system here that I can try to access, but I need the password. Nearby is a manager's report, advising a new hire to keep the department's medicine in a locked storage room at a stable temperature, and that they should check it every day. A computer should be checking it, but the manager claims that a machine is not perfect. It's no more than a tool to be used by people. Very interesting. A people manager advising their protege that machines are a tool to be used by the people. This contrasts with a mechanic advising their protege that a man may betray others, but a machine won't. Two perspectives on the world. One guy trusts devices and computing. The other says you still need a human involved. Reading this in 2025, when everyone's arguing about AI taking jobs and offloading half their lives to Musk's horny chatbots, is weirdly on the nose. Resident Evil 3 obviously isn't about artificial intelligence, but the series in general is clearly about powerful people misusing their control and hiding behind their systems when things go bad. Umbrella is like the original evil tech company. It has endless funding, a lack of oversight, and a knack for ignoring the problem until the city is literally on fire. It's Sam Altman throwing endless money at the AI situation, hoping it figures itself out. We'll see how that ends, won't we? Potential threat to my livelihood aside, the manager's report also notes that the computer password is, and I quote, a word that everyone is familiar with, and that when a new product is shipped, the password will be updated again. This puzzle took me far longer than I'm proud to admit. Basically, you can watch a TV ad for Umbrella's Escape to Ecstasy Aqua Cure, which is lube, I think? I thought this commercial was just a set dressing thing for a while and ignored it, roaming around the room looking for clues. But I couldn't find anything, so I tried using words from the ad. Ecstasy, I guess, is a word that everyone's familiar with? Wrong. I try the term escape next, from Aqua Escape, thinking that's also a word that everyone knows since everyone tried to escape the infected city. Wrong. Then I try Aqua, just because, and nope, that didn't work either. I'm at a loss, thinking once again that the clue is somewhere besides the ad. Maybe everything thrown in here is meant to distract from the answer and I'm simply looking too hard. But I find nothing. Heading back to the TV, I try free as it's the most common word on the screen. Nope. Store? Nope. I even go back and reread all of my collected notes to see if I'm missing something. The password ends up being Aqua Cure. How is that a word everyone knows? First of all, it's 2 words, and I thought the solution would be a smart play on words like escape or cure, considering the situation everyone's in, but clearly I was thinking far too hard about this one. It was just the biggest words on the screen, marketing speak for the company and their product. Whatever. The door is unlocked and we head inside. This medicine room is scarier than I expected, and inside is some ammo powder and oil additive, which I guess I do need for the trolley. I thought I had all the parts already. Guess I was wrong. This nearby pipe is pumping liquid nitrogen, and zombies decide to bust in through the window. We hear Nikolai scream as the zombies rush inside, since they seem to have gotten an intelligent boost in this game compared to the previous ones, and suddenly, the nitrogen pipes in here make perfect sense. Capcom is giving us a hand. We blow one up to kill a fair set of zombies and grenade launch the others. Thing is, there are a lot more outside of the medicine room. Too many that it would be dumb to spend ammo on, and both Nikolai and the comrade he shot are missing. I decide to ditch the leftover gunpowder in the medicine room and bail. It's far too dangerous here. On my rush back to the trolley, Nemesis decided it has been too long since his last appearance, and decides to bash a wall hydrant in anger. I, pleased with myself for not wasting ammo earlier, sprint back the other way in hopes of finding a better weapon or something to help me with this Nemesis fight. My roaming takes me all the way back to the warehouse from the game's intro. Amidst some zombie munching, I go to check on the guy from the beginning, Dario, and find the truck doors open alongside some gunpowder and Dario's memo. I can't help but wonder if anyone will read these words, but writing them will help me maintain my sanity if nothing else. After I've become a meal for those undead monsters, Will the GIs responsible for sealing off the town laugh upon discovering my corpse? So this is how it's supposed to end? I don't want to die. I'm just not ready. My wife, daughter, mother, my entire family has been killed. But none of that matters anymore. Right now, my life is the only important thing. That's all that matters. If Dario's end-of-life realizations weren't sad enough, we learn that his mother stopped him from becoming a novelist, and he holds that against her. This looks like the end for the great Dario Rosso, a novelist extraordinaire, cut down before his prime. He ends it, visualizing his life as a successful writer. As a writer myself, this was a bit of a kick in the ass. We could all learn from Dario, making sure to follow up on our dreams instead of wallowing in regret when the zombie apocalypse finally comes. Would you rather live out your prime, or imagine you lived it out during your final days? It's an existential question. I'm sure you noticed my poor gameplay as I read off Dario's note, so I end up resetting my last save and attempting the warehouse again, this time flawlessly, as I grab the ammo powder to fill up my shotgun, grenade launcher, and pistol to prepare for the Nemesis fight. I'm hoping that with all this pistol ammo I've been making that I get an upgraded ammo type soon. I have to be close, right? One zombie bite later, we grab all the trolley items and return to Nemesis, assuming that the water has run out by now, no? It hasn't, but Nemesis is nowhere to be found, and I'm stuck again on how to progress. In my attempt to interact with the water, Jill simply walks through it. Here I was, thinking the game was redirecting me to the warehouse to prep for an unavoidable Nemesis fight. Nope, I could have just ran through the water the entire time. What was the point of him smacking this then? Was it for dramatic effect? I thought it was to block my progress. Maybe it's on me, as my mind was stuck on horizontal substances being dangerous due to the recent nitrogen pipe situation. Whatever, man. Our uneventful trek back to the parking garage leads to another choice cutscene, one where Jill is nearly taken out by a random pit in the ground. We are given the option to climb up or jump off, and Jill's quick reflexes have her barely escape impending doom. See, this is all I wanted in Resident Evil 2. One overarching story with gameplay choices in between for variety. That's the solution to my problems with that game. They did exactly what I suggested in this one. I guess they listened to my thoughts. Thanks, Capcom, for watching my videos. These changes have me eager to replay Jill's journey, rather than dreading replays like I did with Resident Evil 2's lackluster, meaningless repetition. I'm a person who hates tedium, and Resident Evil 2's replays were tedium to a T. In my eyes, Resident Evil 3 is the solution. I'll go more into Resident Evil 3's story changes towards the video's conclusion, but I won't go into much more detail regarding Resident Evil 2 at risk of repeating myself. Check out my Resident Evil 2 video if you haven't already for more on that. That pit seems to have thrown me off of my groove though, as I'm bitten time and time again on our way to the trolley. But I'm adamant about saving ammo on this here hard difficulty. Nemesis, on the other hand, could give a shit about that. He appears right where I need to be going, but I'm a brave boy and dodge his swing like the Resident Evil pro I am, and we move through the area. But regardless of my skill, the ground has other plans. It opens up once again, dropping us into a pit with a giant worm. The nearby escape ladder has no power, with 2 switches on either side of this long hallway to activate it. The thing is, Mr. Worm appears each time you're about to hit the switch, meaning a quick dodge is necessary to survive. This fight will take some preparation. Knowing I'll likely die a bit trying to solve this boss, and die right after I think that, I fall into a bit of routine. Safe room, Nemesis dodge, power supply. It doesn't help that Jill is hurt, so I have a slightly slower walking speed, but I don't have any heals, so too bad. I practice my quick turns, trying so hard to move fast enough to beat this thing, but it just keeps appearing and appearing. I actually activate both switches at one point, but took a hit in the process that slowed me down. Turns out the ladder doesn't drop either. You have to hit a final switch and wait for it to drop. Eventually, I look up a GameFAQs guide that basically says, bait it out, then unload on it. I slowly figure out the rhythm, edge close enough to trigger the worm, sprint forward as it erupts, quick turn, and shoot. But this process is inconsistent. Sometimes the worm attacks earlier than I thought, sometimes later, and sometimes it just decides I've lived long enough and nails me when I get to the ladder. My winning run has me using a full grenade launcher and shotgun clip, ending it with the very last shotgun shell. I breathe a sigh of relief, as this took about a real-life hour for me to figure out, and move on, praying to a lord I don't believe in that I'll get some heals soon. Of course, there are more dogs to fight off, but at least I have an elevated surface and some pistol ammo to protect myself. With my ammo and heals otherwise drained, we enter the trolley, alive but certainly worse for wear. Jill places the parts inside and Carlos joins, providing us with some flame rounds to add to my 5 remaining pistol shots. In return, Jill informs him of Nikolai's supposed death. We get moving. But as you'd expect, we can't have a smooth escape. Mikhail, the wounded man from earlier, yells. We investigate to find Jill's stalker after him now, but our boy sacrifices himself to protect us, lighting off an incendiary grenade to blow Nemesis out of the car.
Just a little closer.
This, crazily, busts the train's brakes, and we decide to use the emergency brake instead of jumping out the window, though I'm super curious for how that other choice will play out next time.
This must be...
The trolley crashes anyways, and we wake up alone again, but at least we made it to our destination, the Clocktower. But remember, I haven't had a chance to save since before the big worm. There are crows here swarming and probably going to kill me. Jill takes a hit and is limping, and I still haven't found any heals, but we at least escape inside. It's empty for now, but how the hell has the game not given me any green herbs yet? A brutal difficulty choice, but I did pick hard after all. I thought I could handle it. We'll see. We do find a safe room with a Clocktower key inside, but no heals. And believe me, I searched desperately. You can also tell how on edge I am, walking in with my weapon ready despite hearing the safe room theme. I don't trust anything right now, and I'm not going all the way back to my pre-worm save. I'm forced to be brave though, as we hear either a gunshot or an explosion, and before checking it out, at least I can assure my progress via this typewriter. Limping in search of heals causes zombies to bust inside, coming dangerously close to wiping out Jill. I hold my ground, wasting my flame grenade rounds to ensure survival. A short-lived but valuable gift. Carlos, thankfully, is in the next room over, but he's as discouraged as I am, shutting down over Umbrella's probably fake evacuation plan they sent him on.
What are you talking about? We made it!
You don't get it. They have no intention of letting us make it back alive. Do you really think we can trust their great evacuation plan? Huh, it's just a piece of paper.
But we don't have any other choice than to trust them right now.
No. If we're gonna die, then we should get to choose when it happens.
Jill keeps us in shape and gives him a big slap, inspiring me as well. I think Carlos is a bit embarrassed though, as he runs off while Jill and I keep moving. We find some blue herbs, which is totally useless for me, and a mine launcher, alongside the escape plan Carlos has lost faith in. Basically, Umbrella was to evacuate all civilians to the Clocktower, where we're at now, prioritizing Umbrella affiliates, of course. A helicopter awaits in the nearby suburbs, and we are to ring the Clocktower bell to signal it. I say we because Jill is an honorary, temporary Umbrella member, after all. Nearby is a map and a first aid spray. This is probably the most desperate I've been for heals in this entire playthrough, and I get to remember what it's like to move. I should also note that I'm still almost out of ink ribbons. We come across an ominous music box with an off-sounding melody? Odd, haunting. A second music box plays a much more correct-sounding melody, but one no less ominous. This makes me feel like I'm playing Silent Hill. The next room over, a library, marks the first time I felt comfortable around zombies since the warehouse. It's incredible what heals and ammo can do for your psyche during a zombie apocalypse. A second safe room pretty near the first one is a bit odd, but no complaints here. Thing is, I need to go to bed in real life at this time, and I didn't have any ink ribbons to save. Old-timey problems for sure. I remember as a kid leaving my PS2 on all night, and using a game case to cover the green and blue lights so my parents didn't notice it was on, hoping they wouldn't see the case until I got home from school the next day. This situation is kinda like that one, except I'm an adult now, and I just want to save. I don't have anyone to deceive. Venturing into what looks like an art hall, we hear a crash and a painting falls. Perhaps Nemesis? Perhaps something else entirely. Doesn't matter though, as we've just found where the train crashed. It smashed through the clock tower wall here, leaving a trail of flames as yet another horde of zombies crawls through the fire, and I'm at risk of being cornered. So we grab the clock tower key from behind the painting and scram. It's wild that I found 2 safe rooms but 0 ink ribbons. This last third of the game is really making me fight for victory, and I can't really complain. This is the type of challenge I'd expect from a survival horror game. After clearing the last of the library zombies, I'm blessed by some Resident Evil god, be it Chris, Claire, Leon, or hell, maybe even Wesker, who wants to watch me get tortured for a bit longer and come across some ink ribbons. Near those is a postcard with some antique clocks that reads, "Give your soul to the goddess. Put your hands together and pray for her." Man, maybe I really am blessed by a god. It's time to return the favor, I guess, and go pray, as I assume those clocks are somewhere within the clock tower. But I'd also like to make the most of my recent heals and my ability to save, so Jill and I explore the courtyard where we came in to see if there's anything useful, and come across a huge set of green herbs. They were actually here all along. Those damn crows were just protecting them. But as I said, it's time for bed. So let's save. I have work in the morning. Good night, everyone. Did I get ya? I'm just kidding, of course. It's a video. Thanks to the power of editing, I can cut past the mundane parts of real life and provide you with content instead. Isn't that great? Content, content, content. Too bad Jill can't cut past Nemesis, though, as his roar echoes throughout the clock tower lobby, causing her to sprint upstairs in fear. Arguably worse are the spiders creepy crawling their way around the top layer, anxious to poison our girl. I guess that's what those blue herbs were for earlier, but thanks to my good night's rest, I'm ready and able to dodge through them. We escape to a balcony with an electric switch and a keyhole, the latter of which opens, well, a ladder to the clock tower's peak. The switch, on the other hand, turns on some floodlights for a brief moment. I'm sure those will come in handy later. Up top is a giant music box playing that ominous theme from below. I'm tasked with recreating the theme by organizing notes along a modified version of the musical scale. I'm here thinking I can recall the entire theme from memory, but the machine says otherwise. Elsewhere, I find some mine thrower ammo and a silver gear, but it doesn't fit in with the rest of the gears to activate the bell, so it seems like I need to find something else. The game has me in a puzzle gauntlet at the moment, and I appreciate how interactive most of them are. We had the electricity puzzle, the green button puzzle, and now this puzzle. Puzzles that cause you to think a little bit, referencing other information the game provides you and learning from your failures. They're an excellent alternative to the suit key puzzles from the previous games, and fit in line with the more active combat nature of Resident Evil 3. Active combat, active puzzles. After some back and forth attempting to memorize the music box theme, we solve the recreation and are rewarded with yet another key, the Chronos chain, which also looks like something out of an alternate world. There's a small screw hole within, and get this, it's designed to honor the god of time. Anyways, we clearly need another gear part or something, so let's head back down to see what's up. Nemesis comes through the doorway he's clearly too big for, and I'm given the option to use the light or use the cord. Not really knowing what either means, I use the cord and zap Big Boy down. Investigating his body gives us the Eagle Parts B, an item I'm sure I could have had a long time ago if I was good enough to take this guy down without help, but alas. I don't even get to celebrate this as he gets right back up in the next room, chasing me downstairs and presumably onward. Yup, man's got the hit on me for the first time in a while as we escape into the adjacent save room and merge the Eagle parts to create the Eagle 6.0 weapon. Hell yeah. I know that because there isn't two separate campaigns like there is in Resident Evil 2, Capcom doesn't have to distribute weapons to vary up each character, like Leon getting the grenade launcher and Claire getting something different. Jill gets all of the weapons in this one playthrough, and I'm a fan of it. I don't even know what to do with all these weapons, and this pairs well with the ammo creation mechanic. It allows you to focus on different weapons each time you play the game. Currently, I'm carrying my grenade launcher, my pistol, my shotgun, and the Eagle 6.0. For the first time in this entire playthrough, I feel overpowered. Yet I don't even get to test this as, when I walk back out, Nemesis traps himself against a desk, at least for a moment. Then he decides to walk and get unstuck.
Oh, no.
Making me scream as I thought it was safe, but I was prepared in front of the door I needed to unlock. Now for the real challenge, forcing myself through the spiders ahead. I bring out the shotgun for this one and find my way to a Mercenaries pocketbook, a note that validates Carlos' perspective and makes me trust him 100%. The Merc notes he's heard tell of an antibody, which is super interesting. I assume he's talking about the vaccine Dr. Birkin was working on, the one that we used to cure Sherry in the previous game. But what I appreciate is the Merc's hesitance to screw over Raccoon City's citizens. This is supposed to be a rescue squad, after all, and while Umbrella certainly had ulterior motives, the Mercs were in it to save people. That said, apparently the Mercs were trained to use surviving citizens as decoys while they were going through Raccoon, though he never enjoyed doing this. One of the survivors, a young girl, reminded the Merc of his sister, right before she starved to death. I think this made him see the error of his ways and whipped his ass into shape. He did his best to evacuate these people, but the girl's father wouldn't leave the city where his beloved wife rests in peace. The Mercs still wanted to save the girl, but his squad mate, Campbell, said to only worry about their own lives instead. Also, this second entry is dated September 28th, the same date as Jill's journal entry from the game's intro. It means the Merc's note isn't even a day old. You know, journal entries and diaries from events in the past, like BioShock's audio diaries, are impactful, but there's an air of distance to them. It's like finding a fossil. You can attempt to empathize with the situation, but you also know its history, and that distance from the situation makes it feel more like a story being told to you rather than a true happening from the past, even if it did happen in the past. Having a note that was written less than 24 hours ago One that ends with, "and I don't want to make any more mistakes," only to find the note on an adult figure holding a little girl. The little girl that the merc wrote about trying to protect is chilling. I don't know about you, but that's horror to me. Far more than zombies, far more than Nemesis. Nearby are the 3 clocks from that one note. There's a past, a present, and a future clock. And nearby those are some mine thrower rounds and a giant bell, as well as 3 statues holding 3 balls. An amber ball, an obsidian ball, and a crystal ball. Each clock has a tray for placing the ball, and for some reason, despite time being a factor in the puzzle, I placed the balls in order from darkest to lightest. Each placement sets the middle clock forward or backward a bit. As you can imagine, my placements didn't work. Now, referring back to the postcard says to put your hands together and pray for her. 2 clock hands, together, pointed at her, obviously means noon. I don't think I ever fully figured out this puzzle, but I understand that a stone in the past moves the clock backward and the opposite for the future painting. From what I can tell, each ball shifts that time a certain amount, and I only put all this together after I accidentally solved the puzzle. Anyways, we're rewarded with a golden gear, which pairs greatly with my silver gear, leading to the Chronos gear, our second ode to the god of time after the Chronos key. Thus begins the ringing of the bell. Based on what we were told, the bell should mean evacuation, right? But the map shows 3 more locations to find, and I'm assuming there's a big boss fight soon. So your girl packs up. We're packing the handgun, the grenade launcher, the shotgun, the mine thrower, and the Eagle 6.0. All fully loaded with no extra ammo in case I need to carry more heals. That's right, I play games, can you tell? I have a mini panic attack though, thinking that because I fried the lights earlier, the helicopter may not actually come. But a cutscene plays shortly afterward with the helicopter on its way.
We're saved. Down here! It's finally over. Huh?
In a dramatic affair, Jill's celebration is cut short as Nemesis fires a rocket launcher at the damn thing, taking it down and setting his sights on us, yells and all. Nemesis nails Jill with a purple tentacle, but Carlos jumps in to save us, destroying Nemesis' rocket launcher and sending him into the nearby flames. This only serves to make him scarier as he approaches Jill, and I didn't even realize I was in a playable state at this time. The static camera angles and the way everything was presented to me made me think I was still in a cutscene. I scramble to fight Nemesis here, immediately using my heals to restore Jill into a limping state. Nothing I do goes well. Nemesis' speed here is too much for me. We fail, not only ourselves, but Carlos as well. Try number 2, I use the mine thrower, my eagle, and my grenade launcher, alongside some dodging to avenge myself. Even with my packed loadout, this was still a hard fight. Nemesis' long-range attacks and speed are difficult to dodge. I'm constantly running, quick turning, and firing off a few shots before enacting a dodge and repeating. It's here I looked up a few tips as well, and learned that dodging does not give invincibility frames like it does in a Souls game or other more modern gaming experiences. According to this Reddit thread, if you dodge correct but too close to a wall or not quickly enough under one of Nemesis' punches, you'll still take damage, even though you're dodging. Apparently this is a really common thing for most players. They'll dodge but still take damage, and it feels like a bug or just something that shouldn't be happening, but I think that's only because we're used to playing modern games with invincibility frames. Pretty sure this mechanic was intentional. After scaring Nemesis off once again, Jill collapses before saving Carlos. Fortunately, he wakes up shortly afterward to become the hero.
Jill, Hey, don't die on me. Jill! Jill!
October 1st, night. I woke up to the sound of falling rain. I can't believe I'm still alive.
October 1st, a few days later, Jill awakens to the sound of falling rain. We're back in the Clocktower safe room, and Jill reveals her infection. She can't seem to move very well, but at least it's not causing her any pain. Carlos provides some emotional support, and we get the chance to play him and his automatic rifle. I take some time to spray and pray nearby zombies, but eventually slow down. There are many more zombies to match Carlos' automatic fire, so conservation is key, and I switched to manual fire to reinforce that thought process. We know from that one note there's an antigen, which I assume we're looking for to save Jill. We weren't given any direction, so I roam around a bit, note the destroyed staircase, and find the failed Merc's body so Carlos can say his goodbyes. We also discover we're strong enough to move the bell from earlier. Past the bell is a branching path between a hospital and a park. I think it's clear where we should head first. Inside the hospital are the first few hunters, the beta version of Birkin's alpha hunters from the original game. Carlos' machine gun takes them down pretty quickly though. A tough enemy for a tough weapon. We do take a hit or two, but can only find some red herbs and a first aid spray. No green boys just yet. Nearby, we find a director's diary, which details the director's desire to heal his patients turning into zombies. At least we know not everyone was corrupted by Umbrella. As you can probably assume, he does not heal everyone, and the man turns into a zombie himself, dying knowing his research will contribute to finding a cure. We find a tape recorder that voice activates a nearby elevator, a very proper sounding voice, and head to the 4th floor. We find a note on one of the bodies in a patient's room, reading 253, clearly a code of some sort, alongside Carlos' first green herb. I should also note that, for the first time in playing this game, I'm not worried about Nemesis. I'm sure he'll appear later on, but for this section, I feel like I've earned a break. He was hit pretty hard by Jill, and needs some time to recover just as she does. Plus, Carlos isn't a STARS member, so why would Nemesis be after him if Jill isn't around? Hold that thought. We find Nikolai in the hallway, firing at yet another soldier. Somehow, this man is still alive. He claims he's a supervisor, and that's all we need to know. He's also about to end Carlos, but the soldier he was about to kill primes a grenade, so Nikolai bails out the window. Action hero as fuck, except he's the villain. There's no more mystery surrounding his intentions. Nearby is a sick room key and photo D of zombies walking. We also find some creatures in tubing, likely some experiments the doctors were running to try and solve the virus. That key opens a locked patient room, where I must push a file cabinet over what appears to be outlets and get shocked if I push the wrong one. Likely a reference to the cork board outside, which reads, "Put things back where they belong." This takes me 3 tries, but doing so reveals a secret safe. Clearly the owner of the code 253, but inside is a vaccine base. The doctor's research must have been right. He's going to cure Jill Valentine. But of course, I can't just bring her a vaccine base. Downstairs, more zombies have flooded the hospital, but we push through to make a save in the safe room and head to the basement levels in an attempt to synthesize the cure. A few hunters later is clearly some sort of experimentation room with creatures submersed in tubes. There always has to be an experimentation room. A note confirms this as Umbrella's research station, one where Douglas Rover writes how to cultivate the vaccine. He's telling us how to do the nearby puzzle. But redirecting the power to the synthesizer lowers the water trapping our nearby creatures, meaning they'll be able to escape. This is a masterclass in horror design. You can solve the puzzle now, but there's a potential threat looming over you. Sure, there's a small chance these creatures won't escape, and the water lowering was just an act to scare you, and your brain latches onto that possibility while you toil away at the puzzle. But deep down, you know. Carlos knows, hell, even Jill knows, that these boys will be breaking out. I placed the vaccine base in the synthesizer. The note said to make sure this system's levels are exactly in the middle, represented by the bars on its left side. Shifting a lever moves the system's levels up or down. Honestly, I just kept moving the levers around until everything was even. Didn't use very much logic. One of the easier puzzles I've faced recently. And now we have the vaccine. Of course, this is perfect timing for what looked to be like alpha hunters to break out of the tubes, and I don't even consider standing my ground, not even for a second. The same goes for the beta hunters, who I skillfully dodge under, might I add. Here I am, feeling all good about myself and my dodging skills until... Of all the brutal moments I've experienced while playing Resident Evil, this might be the most humiliating. I could have just stopped and taken them down, but I got greedy and Carlos paid the price. Remember, folks, your actions have an impact on others and can even take their lives. But some people don't care about that, and their names are Nikolai. After bailing out of the hospital window, Carlos' former leader set a bomb to blow up the hospital, and once you reach the first floor to discover it, you have about 7 seconds to escape. We get out no problem, as Carlos and I are both experienced in tank controls by now, yet the hospital is completely grounded. Because of Carlos, that doctor's research will go on to save Jill.
Come on.
The Clocktower is overrun with those gross eel things on the way back to our girl, and Nemesis is back just in time as well, busting down the Clocktower wall to make a grand entrance with his new tentacles. Kinky. Guess I was wrong about Nemesis only going after STARS members. He's now got a personal vendetta against Carlos. Lucky for us, this safe room door is stronger than the Clocktower concrete, so we administer the vaccine safely and bring Miss Valentine back to life. Yet we don't have very good news for her. 2 entities she thought were dead, Nemesis and Nikolai, are actually both alive and well. She loads up, and we head through the entryway outside the safe room just as Nemesis breaks through the adjacent dining room door. It's a double-sided moment. I'm in awe of him busting down a door that removes a whole loading screen, but it also means the monster can chase us into a claustrophobic room, so I can't even take the time to admire his feat. Capcom keeps upping Nemesis' capabilities to the point that it feels like he's breaking the game. It started small with giving him a rocket launcher, him appearing in some rooms after you've already been in there, him growing tentacles, now he just removed a damn loading screen. What else is the STARS hunter capable of? The beast plows after us as we head to the park nearby the hospital. Thing is, I can't open the park door, nor the building next to it. Though the building is a simple lock, meaning I need the lockpick from back in the safe room. Having to run back is a bit annoying, but I guess this prevents Carlos from entering the area. Instead of risking death by creature, I reset to my last save, the one where we regained control of Jill. I got bit on my first try anyways, so it's a nice way to restore my health for free. Lockpick in hand, we open the door and come across the works of yet another brave journalist in Photo E and grab a park key. I was going to try and protect my rank a bit and not save here, but thought about it a little more and decided that a 24th save is surely too late for my rank. Like, is there really going to be a difference between a 23rd save and a 24th save when it comes to getting a final rank? I feel like I've already saved way too much. The park features a gorgeous fountain full of not-so-gorgeous sliding worms, yes, that's their official name, and take the stairs down to a pretty cool pathway through the park's swamp. Zombies abound, of course, and I realize that these pathways are narrow as hell. It must have been so frustrating trying to enjoy a nice walk through this park with your spouse or dog. Raccoon City's engineers must be as competent as its mayor. Or Maybe the paths were built like this on purpose. We discover a written order to the supervisors, telling them to obtain all the information related to the Umbrella situation here in good old Raccoon, and to destroy all the evidence including a medical facility, which I assume was Nikolai blowing up the hospital, and demanding that the supervisors check the guinea pig's ability to accomplish the mission, whatever that means. I'm assuming it's Nemesis, but that's not clear for sure. Now we know what Nikolai is here for. They're not here to save anyone. They're here to just save Umbrella's ass and kill anyone who might question that. This is like the sewer manager in Resident Evil 2 being manipulated to cover up Birkin's lab. It appears that everyone in power at Raccoon is in cahoots with Umbrella to some degree. Don't be like these guys, everyone. Remember to question authority and dump your damn trash in a trash can. But at least we found another park key. This time we head to the fountain's other side and find a gear switching puzzle. There are 2 white gears and 2 black gears, and only those next to an open slot can be moved. Aligning them into specific patterns activates different water levels in the fountain. Thing is, you only have 6 moves to do this, and none of these patterns listed here seem to do anything but fill the fountain up. Also, it's kind of funny to think that anyone could just come here and manipulate the fountain at will. It's kind of a goofy public service. After trying the majority of these listed combinations, I experiment a bit and realize I can jump into the water. At its other end, hidden by crafty camera angles, is the pattern for draining the fountain, and a drain right nearby for good measure. The task is simple. Place the white gears below and the black gears on top. This took me far too many tries, which had me thinking it's a bit of an absurd device in the first place. I guess this limitation is in place to protect what's in that trapdoor, but can you imagine being hired as Umbrella's undercover park ranger and having to figure this out every time you had to go down there? I finally drain the fountain and enter the sewers, only to be terrified by a giant thing, reminding me of the Killer Croc from Arkham Asylum. Out of fear, I decide to save, running all the way to the park ranger locker room and back to do so. The creature seems to be gone this time, but instead I'm swarmed by more sliding worms. Maybe that beast is just a giant sliding worm. Wouldn't be the first worm we've come across. Up a ladder, we come across a graveyard, the perfect place for zombies to come alive. That's a pretty normal thing to think, right? But my brain thought I was facing invisible monsters, simply due to the dirt shifting around before the zombie appears and how long it takes them to rise. I feel like such a dork from missing that, but it's kind of hilarious I thought that as well. Resident Evil 3 is capturing a classic horror feeling. Zombies literally rising from the grave. It's cool, campy, and totally fitting. Coming across the graveyard manager's shed, we find some ammo powders and an iron pipe. I do wish I experimented more with the ammo powder in this playthrough, but I do so in the next one, so we'll get to that later in the video. I take this time to stock up on pistol, magnum, and shotgun ammo, along with 1 mixed herb, and head back out to explore. I'm gonna scour for some more heals, as I feel like we'll be reaching the endgame soon. I don't find any, and I realize the path forward is actually back in the grave manager's den thanks to the map, behind some firewood which could catch on fire. Bad translations are so funny. We light the fire and use the iron pipe to bust down the back of the fireplace. Inside is the supervisor's secret headquarters, a key, and a report on the status of the guinea pigs they're testing on. Quote, "The endurance ability of the contaminated guinea pigs is truly incredible. Apparently they can survive for days with an open wound after being shot, though their intelligence drains over time, drains all the way down to that of an insect. Hey, insects can be pretty damn smart. Have you seen what ants can do?" Umbrella plans to inject the virus into its prisoners of war, letting the POWs escape back to their squads, turn into a zombie, and infect the rest. You can't deny that would be an effective weapon. Like much of war, though, the action doesn't consider its standing consequences. While one might defeat their enemy squad, they also turn that squad into unstoppable zombies who will infect others, such as civilians. Dumbasses, man. So, the guinea pigs were the zombies all along, with their ability to survive for days despite losing intelligence. Fitting that this note is right by a graveyard then. The note also references the giant alligator from Resident Evil 2, which is fun, and ends on encountering Nemesis, stating that the creature must not have eliminated all the STARS members yet, since it's still walking around. This has to be a recent note then. Also, I wonder how any of the supervisors get in here without breaking the fireplace like I did. Has anyone considered that? To back my recency theory up, another note from HQ reads that Umbrella is abandoning its Raccoon City project, that delaying the US Army's plan to nuke the city is futile. The worst part? They're nuking it tomorrow morning. Before heading out, a communication comes through, asking all supervisors to return immediately. Nikolai, the good order-following soldier that he is, runs into us as he returns. He's even impressed with us, but reveals that Umbrella sent a military squad in to observe the T-virus infection, not knowing how brutal the situation would be. His reveal of everything going on reminds me of Iron's chat in Resident Evil 2's Hell Room. Only Nikolai bails right as something shakes the ground instead of getting absolutely destroyed like the late police chief. The earthquake turns out to be a giant worm, perhaps the one from earlier, but seemingly way bigger, like building-sized.
What's going on? Whoa! Oh. What is that?
These games really be throwing normal humans at monsters a superhuman should be fighting. This ends up being an excellent boss fight. It takes place on a linear path as the worm hides, then jumps out to attack, forcing you to run tail. The trick is to bait it out and sprint away, quick turning to fire off enough shots that force it to hide again. You can hide in this water here, but the creature doesn't come out until you stand on solid ground, so you're really just standing there doing nothing. Winning the fight is easier said than done though, as I kept getting greedy trying to fire off a few more shots, and got eaten as a result. I was also focused on the shotgun, which requires me to be a bit close. Big mistake. After a few deaths, which let me see Nikolai run away like a bum quite a few more times, I bust out the Magnum to deal a ton of early damage, fire some shotgun shells for more, and finish it off with the Eagle 6.0. Thanks, Nemesis. You actually helped for once, providing me with these parts. With another key in hand, we can open the final park door, leading us to the final main area. Through here is a big ol' bridge, one that our boy Nemi systematically destroys before standing in our way. Stars. We're presented with two options here. One that really surprises me, push him off. I didn't know we could push this thing that's twice our size, but I'm here for it, half expecting the process to go wrong. Jill swiftly shoves our friend into the river below, and I sprint away in case he can come back. What a badass moment. We enter this factory, the dead factory actually, to a welcome sight in Carlos. He notes the nuke, you know, in case you're a heathen player who doesn't read notes and isn't already aware of it, and says,
"Come on, we have to hurry, there isn't much time left,"
and leaves, as all Resident Evil characters do. Nearby is a manager's diary, one who was transferred to this facility on April 25th, his 30th birthday. It's apparently much better than his life working at a university. In May, he completed a disposal system that decomposes the cells of guinea pigs before getting locked in the treatment room. You can't open the door from the inside, even with his keycard. This was just the start of his frustrations, as the guinea pigs they have to, quote, dispose of are increasing. His systems aren't working, they can't keep up. The lab staff won't listen to him about any of this. They have too many bodies and their cure isn't working anymore. In fact, by July, even some of the workers were getting infected. Our manager keeps a gun on him at all times, just in case, though he would be so sad to die that way. I think we can assume he did. It's crazy to think about what was happening right outside such an unassuming park. These scientists were testing on guinea pigs, and we can assume that once they infected POWs and turned all their enemy squads into zombies, they'd capture and cure them. But the cure wasn't working, and that's why things got out of hand so quickly. We find some gunpowder A and B, and while I was originally going to combine them to make some grenade rounds, I figured once again that I must be so close to enhanced pistol rounds and go that route instead. I was correct, yet also annoyed that these enhanced bullets don't combine with the basic ones. It makes complete sense, but I'm still bitter about it. Now these two different ammo types take up 2 inventory slots. A room attached to this safe room features steaming pipes and buttons to redirect said steam. The evil water blocks access to this control panel here. Turns out I need to run to the other side of the room, of course. That switch is the one that makes it so I can get to the control panel. As simple as this puzzle is, I much prefer this puzzle type to the ones like pushing a box around in Resident Evil 2. That one's just slow and meandering, and note that there's hardly any puzzles of that type in this game. Much of the puzzles here require a little bit more thought and interaction. I say that, but then again I was stuck on that Resident Evil 2 box puzzle for quite a while, so maybe I'm just biased against it. This control panel switch opens one of 2 locks on a door somewhere in the factory. We blast a few bug baddies down the hall and find all of the lab's zombified scientists. I wonder if that manager turned into one or was able to, beforehand. This control room houses a system disk, a dead factory map, and a set of green herbs, which I appreciate. Despite playing on hard mode, I feel that Resident Evil 3 balances green herbs, ammo, and first aid sprays well. As long as I explore and play somewhat decent, I stay stocked and never feel too pressed for supplies. The only time I've really been struggling for heals and limping along is when I played pretty badly and got attacked a lot. I wonder how I'd feel if I decided to fight Nemesis more, but you know what? I'm perfectly okay not doing that. A nearby elevator lowers us towards more creepy crawlies, and can we mention how cool the mine launcher is? I haven't used it much until now, but it sends homing mines at enemies and blows them up after a few seconds, absolutely ripping them to pieces. You have to be careful though, as the mine explosion can hurt you too if you're too close. Past these guys is, unfortunately, some more sewer, but it's a short hallway so I can't be too pressed. The next safe room houses one of the most dire notes in any Resident Evil game so far. It's a security manual, revealing that this plant is a facility under the disguise of a deserted factory, meaning that civvies will surely come across it at times. But instead of nicely turning them away, Umbrella says, do not hesitate to shoot them. Even worse, if these civvies surrender, arrest them and bring them into the lab as new guinea pigs. That's right, as I mentioned before, the guinea pigs we've been referencing all this time were human test subjects. Umbrella is just comically evil, experimenting on regular people, trapping them, and turning them into zombies. It's no wonder the city is overrun. The note also explains why the facility is on lockdown, as it automatically locks when it detects contamination. As we can see, everything's contaminated. But we do find an uncontaminated water sample for use in a nearby machine, and what ends up being my favorite puzzle in the game. There's a pattern you need to replicate by lining up 3 rows of lines to create a column of lines in the top row. For example, the first column in the first line is 1 block, but it's made up of 2 lines, so you need at least 2 of the 3 rows lined up to make that column. So on and so forth. There's something super satisfying about lining these lines into place. It reminds me of these car escape puzzles I'd do in school as a kid. And that's probably why the puzzle genre is one of my favorites in gaming, because I did stuff like this all the time as a kid. I seriously would have done like 3 of these puzzle types in a row if the game needed it. The secret here is to start with the columns that require all 3 rows to be lined up, as there's only so many ways to achieve this. It's a good starting point because you know at least one of these configurations is the correct way to go. Solving the puzzle tricks the security system into thinking there's no more contaminated water, which releases the final lock of that door from before. I really struggled to find this newly unlocked door. I understand it was on the map here, but for some reason, its location didn't click with me until a zombie ran out from that corridor, and you can see me pausing in panic here, thinking it appeared out of nowhere. Okay, before entering this next room, I need you all to know that my first real Resident Evil experience was technically Resident Evil 7. It was back in 2017. I had just dropped out of college, so I don't remember much of it. I was simply filled with anxiety and using the game to procrastinate more than anything else. But what I do remember is a bunch of crazy shit happening, like Ethan's leg being chopped off and him simply putting it back on with a bit of med spray. Superhuman shit like that. I know that's explained later on because I've played Resident Evil 8, but at the time it was wild. That moment is when I realized Resident Evil is completely absurd. But I didn't think it was always this way back in the original games, and that maybe it got a bit absurd in the later games. Nope. Every Resident Evil character is and always has been a damn superhuman. Let me show you. Jill walks into this room and dashes away from a surprise bullet fired at her as if she has spider senses, then 180 spin dodges to avoid another and get into cover. It's so damn cool. I love how campy these games are. The bullet's culprit, Nikolai. Apparently, he gets a bonus if he eliminates everyone who knows anything about what happened here. But before he can get away, he has his irons moment.
That's great, except I have no intention of contributing to your retirement fund.
A very unflattering goodbye, and no bonus either. Our system disk opens the next door, but Jill goes in without my control, which I did not plan for. I'm not prepared for a boss fight, and of course, this room is a Nemesis fight. The monster has transformed into a beast even more vile than before, with muscles busting out of his skin and tentacles growing out of him like Doc Ock, though these are short-lived, as Jill tricks Nemesis into knocking acid on himself. This is to cue the player in on these acid pumps that you can bait Nemesis into. When he's close to one, fire to activate it. I already know I won't win this on my first try, especially because I entered the fight by accident. I don't even have any heals on me. I try to take the time to practice dodging while aiming at these acid pumps, but I simply can't hit them. It feels like I'm aimed directly at them, but every bullet Jill fires seems to miss. No matter what I use, the mine launcher, the shotgun, my enhanced bullets, I simply can't activate them. See, when you press R1 to aim in this game and Resident Evil 2, Jill automatically points at her nearest target. However, Resident Evil 3 introduces a new feature where you can point at an environmental item, like an explosive barrel, by pressing R2. Thing is, I thought you had to hold R1 and then press R2 to have her switch and aim at the environment. This hardly ever worked throughout my playthrough, and I figured the feature was just a little jank. I'm the one who's jank. You're just supposed to press R2 instead of R1, and I had to actually look this up in the manual to figure this out. I can be really dumb sometimes. With this mechanic down, I was able to win as intended. After a few deaths, of course. I really enjoyed this fight as well. It showcases the power of Nemesis as he tosses Jill around with his far-reaching tentacles. He seems invincible at this point, powerful up close and afar. But unlike our other fights with him, Nemesis has a weakness here, in the acid. Not only does it show you that acid in a cutscene, but Nemesis actively backs away from the acid if you shoot it too early, hinting at its power. Nailing him with it deals massive damage, providing you with a 1-up and a bit of variety instead of repeating the fight we've had so many times before, all with a timer that forces you to act. It's a complete test of your skills, firing at Nemesis, being able to dodge him, and doing everything under the pressure of a timer. It's everything a penultimate fight should be. All topped off by the fact that the acid can burn his head off and he'll still chase you around. I was truly proud of myself for taking him down, and with 12 seconds to go, I rushed to grab the keycard and wasted precious time running to the door before the control panel. Jill activates it, and we get out with less than 2 seconds to spare. As the timer hits 0, the room drops Nemesis' body into the filthy pool from before, in that room where the monsters continually respawn when you enter. But we're not out of here just yet. Umbrella's missile is still on its way, and many new, more powerful zombies stand in the way of my escape. Jill and I storm back to the safe room and rearm, saving for good measure. It's funny that the game's music and the alarm make this moment very tense, but there actually isn't a time limit, so you can explore as you wish. We use the keycard to open that sliding door in the hallway and floor some zombies with our upgraded pistol rounds. It's curious, though, that there are some green herbs packed away here, making me believe there are still threats to come. The next room over, Carlos transmits to us, claiming he has a chopper while providing us with a radar to track the incoming missile. Now we have a time limit, simply disguised as a minimap. Everything happening is so tense that we've even got zombies in an item box room, making this safe room, in reality, not so safe after all. There's also a note detailing that the next room we enter powers the facility, and that we must place 3 units in their proper sockets to activate the circuit. We also come across a photo of the Paracelsus sword, a rail cannon named after the Swiss physician, alchemist, and philosopher from the early 1500s. Paracelsus was known for his pursuit of knowledge and its application to advance the field of medicine. But there's a myth that his sword hilt held many things, such as an elixir of life, that made him so capable. According to the game's wiki, this weapon was brought in to take down Birkin and his G-Virus transformation if necessary. However, it will soon be used for another purpose, as it's sitting nice and clean in the next room over. Both outside and inside these factory doors is what looks like Mr. X, and I found out through the wiki that various Mr. X models were sent into Raccoon City. One was to the R.P.D. in Resident Evil 2, the others elsewhere, and I'm assuming that these were here to cover up the rail cannon and other evidence of Umbrella's involvement. Clearly this didn't work, and this is why Raccoon is getting nuked. Unfortunately, both the weapon and the exit door are powered down, and we must push 3 batteries in to power them back up, as detailed in a previous note. After pushing in the first battery, a 4-legged beast of a monster appears, Nemesis Final Form. This boy has it all. Tentacles, spikes, massive legs, an epic tail, a brain emerging out of its backside. It's truly horrific, and it's ready to make a Jill sandwich. The one thing this monster lacks, though, is Nemesis's speed. It lumbers after Jill as you run around, spitting acid and bashing you down as you push the batteries to power. Despite activating all 3, though, the door is still locked, meaning we actually have to take the creature down to survive, all with the pressure of the incoming nuke. Amidst my panic, I realize that these batteries actually powered the rail cannon as it eventually fires, creating a path through the debris and, more importantly, a spot for it to take a clear aim against Jill's latest threat. I struggled at first, but eventually bait the beast into the railgun's path. I thought it would be dead after 1 shot, but 1 shot isn't enough, and that mistake cost me Jill's life, as the creature pelts her with acid. A bit of karma for my failures, I must say. Before attempt number 2, I explore a room that I missed earlier and come across a locked storage locker. It's housing a plastic key reader, just like the one I used earlier, but this one isn't taking my keycard. Frustrating, but I'll deal with it another time. It probably needs some item that I missed earlier on. This second fight, I do a much better job weaving through the monster's acid spit, keeping it in place long enough to take 6 whole shots as it explodes in epic slow motion, just as Mr. X did. It was another good fight, shifting away from the trend of shooting my shotgun and dodging away from Nemesis, as that style peaked in the previous battle. Instead, this fight requires a mastery of maneuvering, having Jill not only solve a puzzle while being hunted by the beast, but also having her navigate around the arena to position the beast in the way of danger. It's an unpredictable battle, since Nemesis will sometimes chase Jill, other times sit on top of the wreckage, standing everywhere but the spot you need it to stand. It's an evolution of that first worm fight, in a way, as that fight had you solving a puzzle while avoiding the worm's predetermined danger points. This time, the threat is no longer limited by a few holes in the wall, but instead free to chase and attack you as it sees fit. It's a fight that requires effort and a good grasp of the game's controls. It's threatening, it's scary, and difficult to cheese or try and cheat your way out of. It's a great evolution of the game's mechanics, and really all you can ask for a final Resident Evil fight. With the railgun's mission complete, it enters cooling mode, which means there's enough power for the door. But I'm presented with one final choice. Stick with the beast and eliminate it, or leave it and escape. I was hesitant at first, but I ultimately chose to exterminate our boy, thinking I'd have to take on yet another combat scenario. I was so pleased to be wrong, as Jill took it down in a badass cutscene. You know, I guess most of these choices led to a cutscene more than anything else anyways, so I shouldn't be too surprised in retrospect. But one elevator later, Carlos awaits with a helicopter and the two escape.
Oh no.
It's here! It's time to go.
That's it. I've had it. This time they've gone too far.
Nuclear explosion and all, Jill has had it. Capcom really went all out with this cutscene, parading about the nuke's destruction over various angles. This thing vaporizes iconic locations like the R.P.D. and the Clocktower. It evaporates zombies and Raccoon's litter of buildings, engulfing them in a molten orange hellfire visible from dozens of miles away, even disrupting our escape helicopter way up in the sky. A newscast plays, revealing that the president deemed a nuke the best course of action for Raccoon City. It resulted in a death toll past 100,000. My reward? A nice clean rank F. 31 saves, just under 8 hours of playtime. A nice portrait of Carlos and Jill as well, staring off into the distance in casual clothing. They look good together, if not weary. A distant look in their eyes as they recount the tragedy. I also earn an epilogue, a depiction of Jill searching one of Chris's empty hideouts, finding a knife on the floor alongside some blood. Knowing her partner's resilience, Jill seeks him out so they can end Umbrella together. A comment on my final Resident Evil 2 video reads, "I think you're in for a treat with Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. I think they learned a lot from RE2. I 100% agree. The games focus on one overarching scenario with slight story alterations and choices rather than bland story changes that contradict each other with 4 different campaigns, makes for a much more replayable experience. I don't have to miss out on exciting battles in place of less than thrilling ones, nor do I have to sit through cutscenes that simply aren't as engaging as others. Now it's time to analyze my next playthrough, where I do all of the opposite choices to see what changes. I won't go in depth on every action here, just the main changes, so let's get started.
Resident Evil.
There's something about the confidence a Resident Evil replay instills in me. Starting fresh means new opportunities to dodge enemies and save ammo. It means attempting a faster run and getting a higher rank by not using a first aid spray. And, in Resident Evil 3's case, it means neat new twists on the experience. But it also means a more tense experience. I'm playing on hard again, and my desire to get a good rank really ratchets up the tension. Of course, the game's first choice is a pretty evil one from the player's perspective. It's to take down Nemesis outside of the R.P.D. I gotta be honest, guys, this was hard. I looked up so many strategies, and the advice summed up to run slightly ahead of Nemesis, but not enough that he'll sprint at you, quick turn, and fire away. Run to his right side while dodging. I tried this a lot, both with the pistol and with the shotgun, and actually got reasonably far. But after about an hour of trying, I switched up my plan. I tried calling the helpline.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please hang up and redial the number, including the area code. Announcement 5. Welcome to Verizon Wireless. Your call cannot be completed as dialed.
Well, that didn't help. So instead of taking Nemi down, I grab a keycard off of Brad's body and run inside. Also, I just remembered a comment on my Resident Evil 2 video that says if you don't pick up any items while running to the police station, you'll find Brad's zombified form and can defeat him to earn a special key in that game. It's crazy to see how he became zombified in the first place through this game. His keycard activates the lobby's security computer, meaning I can use it right away instead of running for Jill's leftover keycard on the station's west side. In case you don't remember, the terminal provides the password for the emblem key, which is necessary for getting into the STAR's office. After clearing the R.P.D, we head downtown and I nail the pallet drop on the bug, which is a huge dopamine hit. The first time I walked into this room, I noticed a hanging pallet swinging around. I tried shooting it to get it to drop on the bugs, but I totally missed. Time for my next choice. This time we pick between dropping into the basement or hiding inside the kitchen in the restaurant. The latter being when Jill whips a Molotov cocktail to knock out Nemesis. I choose the basement this time, which is a traumatic choice. It ends up flooding almost immediately, forcing me back up to fight Nemesis without the handicap. Carlos and I deal some damage as I use him to distract Nemesis, only to find out that Carlos can die and give you a game over. Not the best ending for me, so we try again. I also noticed something different this time. Some Gunpowder A appeared by the booths after I came in through the front instead of the back. I think back to the comment about how I'd like this game, and it also mentions randomized item spawns and enemy placements, which add even more variety to subsequent playthroughs. This gunpowder switch must be one of those situations. Now back to Nemesis. I promised to stay in the water as long as possible, but I chickened out. I actually felt a tightness in my chest as this area flooded, causing me to feel real panic as the water reached Jill's head. I was okay, of course, but I had to pause and think about how intense that moment felt for me. Unfortunately, Carlos dies again in the fight afterward, so I choose the bomb next time and grab the eagle parts, bailing afterward. Plus, my fingers are getting a blister from rapidly pressing the D-pad buttons, as the manual says this will help you escape faster or stand up quicker. Also, is this sign hinting at Resident Evil 4? It's too low res to tell, but it's the Resident Evil classic font and a giant number 4, so I think that's a fair guess. We actually have a bit before the game's next choice, as I grab the trolley repair parts while gathering items and ammo. Then we reach the transformer. I open the far door to grab the Magnum, but the zombies start busting in. My choice this time is the emergency exit rather than electrifying the gate like before. What follows is a wild sequence with Nemesis on top of a building, our camera behind him as he aims down at us with a rocket launcher. What might be even wilder though is Jill dodge rolls a rocket as I have us run back inside the transformer, fighting off what feels like a dozen zombies via the grenade launcher after we tried dodging Nemesis with that crazy top-down camera angle. It's really cool, but it's really hard. I thought I was in the clear after wiping out the zombies, but Nemesis appears inside the transformer room and absolutely destroys me. What I'm realizing now about these choices, especially after this transformer station, is that one option seems to be much worse than the other a lot of the time, requiring you to fight a ton of zombies and often Nemesis, at least in these beginning sections. If you're good at the game, these choices are a solid way to farm Nemesis's drops. In fact, you could argue that the choices act as a sort of choose-your-own difficulty modifier, allowing you to shape the adventure a little bit as you avoid or take on the game's various challenges, depending on your skill level and familiarity with it. For me, though, these options just make things way tougher. I love that even after beating the game, a fresh run still feels like a real challenge. If this was back in the day and Resident Evil 3 was the only game I had to play, I would have been grinding this stuff, gotten really good, and bragged to all my friends about it. All that said though, none of these moments feel like they impact the story that much, but I have read that some of the later ones can. Fortunately, we're not later, we're earlier, and because of that, I chose the electricity again and moved forward, putting the fire out for good measure. But one quick test to see if you were paying attention. If you're a Resident Evil 3 pro watching this, did you notice how I grabbed the Magnum in the Transformer room instead of in the STARS office like in my first playthrough? In that I already had the grenade launcher by this point, despite grabbing it in the Transformer room last time? This is Resident Evil 3's item randomization at work once again. According to Evil Resource, item locations, even for important pickups like the Magnum or grenade launcher, appear randomly and can even change based on choices you make. There are 21 item variations, which add even more variety to every replay. This game is so cool! Next is the security room, which actually has a different password commercial than before, which is a neat little touch. In the freezer room nearby, this is important, I begin hoarding ammo type C, which you get by combining A and B. More on that later. I also take the time to take down Nemesis with the Magnum in the next area, practicing dodging his missiles while I'm at it, and grabbing some heals to make up for my damages. This fight nets us the Eagle Gun B parts much earlier than last time, where I got them in the Clocktower. Next, we have the parking lot choice, where what I assume is the giant worm causes an earthquake, and Jill's choice of either dropping or climbing past the impeding crates. I drop down, which leads to nothing but more of the creepy crawly slimy boys to drain my health, and what is apparently the results of the Gravedigger, or the giant worm, as it sheds. And we head right back up, which still leaves the mystery of that unpowered door unsolved, doesn't it? I'm also now out of ink ribbons after saving before the actual worm fight, but at least I have my eagle. The thing is, I'm dying to that worm again, I need heals again, and I end up having to sacrifice a whole letter rank by using a first aid spray found back near the password terminal. If you're not aware of this, using a first aid spray lowers your rank by a whole letter, so you cannot get a top rank if you use a first aid spray. I made it further than my first playthrough without using one, but unfortunately I don't really have a choice here. I simply don't have any other heals, but at least I found more ammo in the process. This is what I get for playing on hard. This is the point where I accept that while I enjoy playing these games, I'm just not very good at them. I don't have the years of experience playing classic Resident Evil, nor do I have the inclination to spend dozens of hours mastering it. Not anything to do with the game, of course. I would have done that as a kid. I just don't really play games that way anymore. I prefer variety. And hey, you're all super supportive viewers who would never criticize my gaming skills, right? On my way back, I find a new note, the Mercenaries' Diary. It tells a tale of a merc set for execution for no discernible reason, but he ended up being saved on the morning of. Umbrella tasked him with handling problems caused by their illegal products, which in this case is the city's zombie invasion. He says dealing with Raccoon is worse than being executed, and does the execution himself. Pretty depressing. But with some heals in hand, I took out the worm with my grenade launcher and magnum, moving forward. Naturally, this leaves my next choice, to jump out of the train window or use the emergency brake. I braked last time, and frankly, jumping out of this window sounds insane, but we gotta do it for the content. Even wilder is leaving Carlos behind in the train, but the deed is done, and it turns out to be the right one. We end up in the fiery ruins of the train where I discovered the Clocktower key next to the safe room last time, and hoard more ammo powder while I'm at it. This was totally the right choice, as now I don't even have to fight off the crows and potentially die like last time. This may have been the first time I made the better choice in my entire second playthrough. This time, we find Carlos almost immediately in the next room, pointing guns at one another like true friends. He doesn't give us the, "Oh man, we're totally gonna fail" speech this time. Maybe his good mood is a reward for my right choice. And he even gives me some freeze rounds. Jill doesn't even slap him. Also, there are dogs outside this time instead of crows, which is a neat change, but the green herbs remain. Next up, we use the lights to blind Nemesis up top the Clocktower, and combined with Jill's power, sends our boy completely off of it, which is simply gold, though it prevents you from fighting him and getting his drops, which can be a detriment depending on your playthrough. It also doesn't stop the spiders in the next room over. Strangely enough, Carlos doesn't help out in this next Nemesis fight, destroying his rocket launcher, which is a bit odd despite him just saying maybe we can help each other out a bit more. Instead, we have to fight Nemesis alone, rockets and all. Carlos comes after the fight this time, but it's okay. He helped me out anyways, as I absolutely destroyed Nemesis with the freeze rounds Carlos gave me earlier. I read that these are the greatest thing against Nemesis, and I don't think anything has ever been more true. These freeze rounds do a ton of damage and stun lock him if you can get the pattern down, making this one of the easiest boss fights in the series so far. But Jill still gets infected, and Carlos ends up bringing us into the Clocktower once again for a recovery, and we switch back over to him. Well, past me did. Video editor me is gonna switch right back to Jill, since nothing new happens in the Carlos section. And with her, I head through the park and make tons of fire and acid rounds to keep my grenade launcher powered up. I told y'all I'd be shifting my weapon priorities this time around. I also beat Worm Boy first try thanks to the Magnum, and now it's bridge time. Last time, I pushed Nemesis off the bridge to Dead Factory. This time, I'm making the leap myself. I was terrified that he was going to chase after me and loaded my inventory with weapons just in case, but instead we land in a small outcrop underneath the bridge and enter the factory via the sewers, which I don't love. Down here, Jill is swarmed by zombies, but Carlos' assault rifle saves the day, which is his full-time job after all. I think his action hero dialogue works great in this game. Carlos is a true badass. He doesn't shirk away from a fight, regularly taking on enemies with his rapid-fire rifle. He's a bit of a role model, and it's nice to have a partner that I'm not suspect of betraying me like Ada or Barry, even if the latter was forced to do so to save his family. We separate once again and run into Nikolai via the main hallway rather than near the system disk room, yet he locks the grate before we can get to him. After Jill superhuman dodges a few shots, of course. This, sadly, means we don't get to see him wrecked by the ceiling monster before fighting Nemesis, nor do we hear his spiel about getting a bonus for taking us down, but that's okay. The Nemesis fight happens all the same. I destroy Nemesis this time around due to the freeze rounds, and even get the acid on him thanks to stun locking. Not a single hit on me. Let's go. And here's something super cool. In the room where we find the portable radar receiver, Nikolai starts firing at us via chopper, and we get a brand new choice. We can negotiate with him, or we can choose to fight. I chose negotiate, and Nikolai says the only reason he's after us is for an extra bounty. But since the missile is incoming, he leaves, assuming the missile will kill us anyways. It's depressing, actually. He's so sure that we'll just die despite surviving this long. Give a girl some credit, man. Carlos knows how to speak to a lady, though, and hypes us up to escape.
This isn't over yet. I'm not giving up, Jill. We still have a chance.
I guess it wasn't enough hype, though, as I died to the final Nemesis transformation because I can't run fast enough. Ugh, that second or so of the game freezing when you receive a fatal blow is absolutely brutal. For some reason, my brain always thinks the game crashed for a split second, and 1 second later, it comes to the realization that I messed up and I am dead. Now I have to sit with those thoughts as the game over screen appears. But I do remember that one locker from the previous playthrough, and decide to look up how to open it. I deserve this. It turns out I have the right key card, but I need to reprint its signature near the water purification section to open the locker, and inside is a freaking rocket launcher of all things. That's how you get it. Hell yeah. Next, I choose the other choice with Nikolai, deciding to return fire at the chopper and take it down with one rocket hit. Nikolai explodes in an epic ending, and the second way he can die in this game. A death at my hands, and that's okay with me. Now, I use the rocket launcher to deal massive damage on our final Nemi boy, before finally blowing his ass up with the railgun. The thing is, the power weapon didn't make this a simple win. Our new rocket launcher is a hefty boy, requiring a second for Jill to place on her shoulder before firing, and factoring that in meant timing Nemesis acid shots, as I could no longer dodge quickly out of the way. Loading up a shot meant committing far more than you have to with a normal weapon. As much as the rocket launcher gives you a sweet power bonus, it's balanced out by the weapon's weighty wielding time. Now for this final choice. I actually did the same thing as last time, exterminating the monster, because it's really cool. Ignoring the monster and just evacuating is just that. It dies anyways. The city gets nuked. Having Jill do the finisher is far better. And with that, Jill escapes, Instead of Carlos finding a helicopter, he ended up calling one in, I guess, as a pilot descends to pick us up. I finished this time with a rank D, 2 letters higher than last time. I was certainly aiming higher than that when I started, but clearly I was too ambitious, and I even unlock a new ending background. This one is of Jill chilling out at a bar with what might be Carlos behind her, and potentially Barry? This rank actually unlocks me the boutique key and a few costumes as well, in case I decide to ever play the game again, which is neat. I'm also treated to a different epilogue regarding Claire and Chris. It's about a letter Chris leaves for his sister, only for him to find out that she was caught while searching for him. What a wild thought. He probably doesn't even know where she is right now. That's terrifying. I looked into this game having different epilogues, and there are apparently quite a few epilogues you can get as you keep beating the game. Yet another non-intrusive way to reward multiple playthroughs. Big fan. One of my biggest problems with Resident Evil 2 was the tedium of replaying scenarios. Don't get me wrong, the ambition of having 4 separate campaigns was surely groundbreaking back when it came out in 1998, and I acknowledged as much in my videos on the game. At first, I loved the idea of seeing the game's events from different perspectives, but in practice, it wore me down. The B scenarios often had me solving the same puzzles or retracing the same steps, and doing that 4 times is a bit much, especially when the plot was worse in some scenarios than others. The plot and gameplay contradictions between the scenarios aren't that big of a deal, but they definitely contribute to my dislike of the game as well. Claire would put out the helicopter fire in her playthrough, only for Leon to do the same in Leon B, which is supposed to happen in parallel. It left me feeling like I wasn't truly experiencing 2 perspectives on one story, but playing a remix of the same campaign. I wish they committed all the way to either having 2 fully parallel campaigns or not having that at all, rather than this muddled mix of multiple scenarios that connect in some ways but not in others. Resident Evil 3 is the perfect answer to that. Instead of having 4 scenarios of varying quality, Capcom created one big story and added live choice selections to keep things fresh. Rather than playing through a whole lower quality scenario to see some slight changes, I'm making those changes in real time, and under pressure too, as Nemesis slowly approaches me, or as Jill is threatened by a falling set of containers, which adds to the fun and the tension. These choices tie perfectly into Resident Evil 3's more action-oriented gameplay. They feel immediate and personal in a way that the previous game's choices never did. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you I prefer less choice, as long as it leads to more quality content. Doing research after beating this game, I learned that doing nothing during these live selections results in a third option, like refusing to choose on the bridge has Nemesis knock Jill off, where you explore the sewers as before, while ignoring the final choice has Nemesis weakened form poison Jill before it dies anyways. It's wild stuff. And Nemesis just ties everything together. Mr. X was scary but easily avoidable, and also only appears in the B scenarios. I'm not criticizing Resident Evil 2 for that, but I do enjoy having a monster here from the start rather than during a replay. Every time he shows up, Nemesis' speed and strength have you asking, what are you willing to spend to get out of this? Even if you try to run, he's probably going to hit you once or twice. Nemesis weaponizes your choices and punishes you for making the wrong call. I also just like this setting more. I know the R.P.D. is iconic to many people. I'm really not trying to be an asshole here, but the city just hits harder for me. The ruined streets, the scattered survivors, actually witnessing the city collapsing around me. It also terrifies me to think of Umbrella having so much power over a whole city. Its fingerprints are everywhere, from the mayor's self-congratulatory status to its presence on the damn tourist brochures. It's as if Raccoon was a closed-off testbed for Umbrella's experiments, rather than a real city with thinking people. And as a city dweller myself, the thought of total manipulation hits a bit harder. And Umbrella's control even extends to the game's Mercenaries mode. The Mercenaries, Operation Mad Jackal, is a combat-focused minigame where you run through downtown and uptown in reverse to try and disarm a bomb strapped to your chest. Can you guess who strapped it? Actually, you probably can't, and I won't reveal it till later. The mode provides 3 different characters, Carlos, Mikhail, and Nikolai, the Umbrella Mercenaries. Duh, each with their own loadouts. Carlos has his assault rifle, the Eagle 6.0, and 3 mixed herbs. Mikhail has the shotgun, the magnum, a rocket launcher, ammo for those first 2 weapons, and a mixed herb. Nikolai has the Sig Pro SP 2009 pistol, a knife, a blue herb, and 3 first aid sprays. I, of course, picked our boy Carlos to start. The soldiers have lost their edge. They have forgotten what fear and survival mean. It's time for them to remember. The loading screen reads,
Welcome. The rules are simple. In order to dispose of the bomb implanted in your body, you must reach the target point.
Is that Chief Irons? He's the one who strapped a bomb to our characters? Is he for real? Yeah, I guess this is pretty in character for a corporate shill mayor that sold his city for experimentation. We begin in the trolley and rush on through. 2 minutes to escape. I learned that killing zombies adds time to the countdown, and I'm excited for the opportunity to go guns blazing. Combos net you more time, as shown by blowing up this set of zombies with the red barrel for a nice 69-second bonus. It appears that alternate routes are open, but I'm too scared to even think of trying that right now. Instead, I rush along the main path, defeating zombies, hunter variants, and even the occasional nemesis, who, might I add, I'm far less intimidated by since this is combat focused instead of survival. Dodging him gives me a few extra seconds every time, and taking our boy down gives me a whole 10. It's fun to see how Capcom lays out each room too. Some, like the parking lot safe room, end up as trap rooms with seemingly dead zombies that grab at you if you step over them. Other areas, like the area that needs a fire hose, reward patience if you wait for the horde to coalesce next to a red barrel for a big boom. Admittedly, I'm playing a bit rough. Shortly into Uptown, I use my final set of mixed herbs to take Carlos out of the danger status due to some damn dogs, and push our way through a set of hunters to enter the warehouse with 50 seconds left. I have enough ammo to blow down some zombie boys with Carlos' assault rifle, and even take the time to explore down below before finishing in the second floor safe room. Inside, the lights are off, and Chief Irons intimately spins in his chair to congratulate me. Wild that he thinks strapping a bomb to me is a good way to toughen me up, but the move is certainly in character. Iron's assistant gives me a reward, which is a rank and a literal cash injection that I can spend on unlimited ammo versions of the assault rifle, the Gatling gun, the rocket launcher, and hell, for $9,999 you can buy unlimited ammo for all guns, which is an absurd ask, but a great target for longevity. I'm just happy I made it through on my first try, even if it was with a terrible rank. Then again, I thought I did pretty decent, so I'm not even sure how I got the game's worst rank, but I guess it's time to try again. My next session, I decided to explore a bit and found a hostage in the gas station. Saving him nets me 20 seconds and some handgun ammo. I keep going and check out the restaurant next, but die to a hunter. Thing is, I still get an E rank without even finishing the mission, which shows how important hostages are. Looks like top rank means getting every hostage and finishing the mission in a good amount of time. What a task. Next, I try Mikhail's wonderful rocket launcher and make it a bit further, saving Brad in the restaurant basement amidst the flooding. Thanks for the magnum bullets, buddy. Unfortunately, Mikhail's lack of heals does me in as we come across Nemesis. We try again with Mikhail's rocket launcher and shotgun combination, and he ends up becoming my main character. Carlos' assault rifle is cool, but it takes a lot of ammo to take down hordes of zombies. I prefer the more careful approach with Mikhail's shotgun, and using his launcher and magnum to take down Nemesis and hunters. Plus, I get more shotgun and magnum ammo whenever I save hostages. The highest rank I achieved was a D rank, which I'm a bit surprised by as I saved the girl in the Raccoon Press newsroom and finished with 2 minutes and 28 seconds on the clock. I wonder if hitting 2 minutes 30 seconds would net me a higher rank. All this to say, the mode is hard in a good way. I regularly used up all my heals and was deterred from saving some of the hostages by things like dogs or the slimy eel boys. It's a good challenge and it encourages mastery. I plan to return to it from time to time to see how I do. I became obsessed with Resident Evil Village's Mercenaries mode when that came out, and it's cool to see where that sort of thing originated. All this to say, Resident Evil 3 is packed with content. From ranking systems to costumes to alternate choices, Mercenaries mode, and tons of unlocks. This game must have been mind-blowing back when it released, just like Resident Evil 2 must have been. It's a fascinating sequel, and even if it brings over the same enemies and even a few locations, the gameplay improvements, interesting areas, new lore, and a top-tier villain mesh everything together into a peak experience even today, and what is now one of my favorite PlayStation 1 games. Resident Evil 3, more so than the games before, is a story about perseverance. Jill is largely alone here, and after hours of dodging Nemesis, stressing over live selections, and uncovering Umbrella's control over every aspect of this damn city, the game stops feeling like just a zombie game, and more like one about stubbornly moving forward even when it feels like the world is against you. It's almost laughable how she's basically taking on an entire city alone, with Carlos coming in from time to time to help out. He's a lifeline. This game came to me at the right time. As a freelancer, I've been running my own business for about a decade, and I was able to draw a lot of parallels here. This past summer has been incredibly hard for freelancing, due in part to overhiring from the pandemic, the rise of AI, budgets being cut, the list goes on. I'm fortunate enough to work in multiple industries and have an editor that kept finding me work, but it got to the point where I may have had to pivot, which would have been difficult for me. Everything is worked out now, but things were looking pretty dire at the time. Nemesis reminds me of the world trying to force me into a life structure that doesn't work for me. Each zombie is a client looking to take advantage of me. Carlos is my editor, a hero who's helping out because he cares. He does the right thing for no other reason than because it's the right thing, and people like him make the world a better place, inspiring others to keep moving along, even when it seems impossible. And hey, he has his human moments too. Point is, we should all strive to be like Carlos. As the world falls apart, you don't have to join it. You don't have to be Nikolai. There are ways to stand against it through helping others and being there where you can. Maybe I'm just being dramatic, but playing Resident Evil 3 for the first time, in the current state of the world, and in the current state of my career, it was cathartic. A reminder of the good in it all, despite the bad, and how we can be drivers of that. How we have control, and to remember that no matter what a certain mechanic might believe, the tools and systems in our lives aren't neutral. They reflect the people using them. So use what's given to you in pursuit of a purpose, in spite of it all. Just like Jill, and just like the father. For a series that people say isn't so focused on the story and more focused on the gameplay, I think Resident Evil 3 bucks the trend. On its surface, the game's story seems like something that brings you point to point and gives you an excuse for the gameplay. But if you dig a little bit deeper, you can tell it has a lot of heart. Thanks for indulging me.